Hey, everybody. Welcome to Comic Book Curation. I'm Polly, and joining me, as always, Inquisitor 8.1 Quiz. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm a little tired.
We all get that way from time to time, but we will get excited as we move on to frustrating stories. And rounding out our triumvirate of awesome is Jack from Bad Comic Reviews. Link in the description. Jack, how are you?
I'm all right. Quiz has a grown-up job, so he has to work.
Yeah.
Have that luxury.
That's probably something that's worth pointing out. Amongst the three of us, Quiz is the only one with a real job, so that's probably got something to do with it.
Like a grown-up.
Yeah.
Oh God, I wish I could. I wish I didn't. So I have to pay these bills. I'm in debt too.
And you're in debt. Ryan Walter.
Warhammer's expensive, all right.
And whose fault is that?
Shush.
Games Workshop.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been watching a bunch of Warhammer videos lately, trying to understand the lore, and yeah, we can get into that later. My God, you fucking people are weird. Your fictional universe is depressing.
Yeah, it is.
I like lore.
Warhammer's rich with it. Like, the thing about it is that you have to realize that, especially with that universe, it's the sort of thing. If you see a cover of a book and you think it's really cool and it features the army that you really like and you're really hopeful that they'll win, like I just bought one a little while ago called Steel Demon. It's got a Cadian tanker on the front. I'm all like, fuck yeah, it's all about the Cadians. They're gonna win. No, they don't. They lose horribly to the Chaos faction that they're fighting.
Oh, spoiler alert.
And I know what you're referencing now when you refer to the Chaos. It's great. It made me realize something about lore in general. So I watched Arch Warhammer's video on what is Chaos energy, what is the warp, what's it called? The Immaterium?
Immaterium, yeah.
Yeah. All referencing similar or actually related things, whatever the fuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now this is the explanation I was looking for, not realizing how to verbalize that this was the question I was asking. Like, what's going on in this? And it's like the warp. And I thought the warp was something else because I'm a Trek guy. So when it's like talking about warp, it means something else. And I didn't realize that thoughts and emotions and energy were even involved in it in any way. I didn't make the connection until I heard someone describe it. And it made me realize if somebody asked me what's going on in Star Trek, I would start talking about ships and vessels and so on, when that's not what they're probably asking. What they're probably asking is something as straightforward as, okay, human beings are in a galaxy that takes place 200 years in the future, and the galaxy is teeming with other life forms that most of them are really, really similar to humanity in that they're humanoids. That's what they're looking for when they're asking for an explanation.
Now, see, when I would hear, someone say, "What's going on with Star Trek?" What I would think they were like, "Why does Discovery suck?"
Well, or why does anybody care is what they're asking. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to like an info dump on why you like the Klingons. And it's like, who are the Klingons? How do they fit in? Why are they? Do you know what I mean? It's like, everybody has ships. They're all at relatively similar levels of technology. Like the really like straightforward laying of the land explanations of the lore. You see what I mean?
Nope. You get right into nuance right away.
But that's what I've been doing. And I think that's what baffles people. It's like, why is Warhammer so baffling to people? If you haven't laid out what the warp is, it's like the fact that there's gods and where they came from and that they're actually created by people, but they have an existence in and of themselves, but their existence is directly related to the individuals in the real world. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you don't understand that, and I
don't hear any of that. When you talk to a normie and they ask you, what's this about? And you respond like that, they hear a nerdy version of Charlie Brown's mom. I'm like, like that. There's just that nerd laugh over and over again. And like pushing up your glasses that are taped in the middle. That's what all they hear in Steve from then on. It's like a blinders. It's like like when you're in a great amount of pain and your body rejects the memory of it later. That's what they're experiencing, some kind of lost time. They think they've been abducted by aliens, and really they were just talking about Star Trek.
You know what? I disagree. I get the Charlie Brown's teacher reference, like absolutely. It's just it's a monotone wobbling that nobody understands because it's so nuanced, like you said. Isn't that the problem? Like, it's like, why do you care about comics? Like, let's say we're talking about Marvel comics, the explanation they're looking for, and let's say it's like quiz something you like mutants. It's like, because it's like everyday people, they have genetic abnormalities that give them superpowers. They are hated because of it, because they're viewed as freaks and weirdos and call them muties. So it becomes an analogy to the inside outside group. And it's like, you're not referencing any lore. You haven't referenced Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, but all of that would be necessary to understand why anything else is of interest. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just changed the subject.
I think you nailed it about a fairly good synopsis of the X-Men. Is it's finding that good synopsis to talk to people that you know, have absolutely no idea about it and have like a passing at best interest.
Yeah, I think you actually gave a really good explanation right there too. But I would actually go one step further and just completely change the subject to my masturbation habits, because that'll be less weird than trying to tell somebody why a grown middle-aged man is collecting comic books. Like, why do you like these? I can hear your vagina drying up right now, so why don't we talk about my porn collection?
You know what? Okay, so it's going to dry up vaginas, right? Let's just say that that's the case. I deny it because I've talked about comic books with women and it hasn't destroyed my love life yet.
Yeah.
Okay. My
rub it in, eh?
My second ex-girlfriend, she loved comics, but not superpowered heroes or anything of that sort. It's the mythical demons, Preacher, she loved. She thought it was brilliant. Sandman, she loved. She thought it was brilliant. Do you know what I mean? It's stuff on that level where it's magical realism, that kind of thing. And it's like, wait a minute. I think a lot of women, hashtag not all, are into magical realism as stories. That's why vampire stories appeal to them. The world's completely normal, except there's vampires and werewolves in it, and most of them live in secrecy. It's like, you know, there's a whole wealth of comics and graphic novels dedicated to those ideas. Like it.
Yeah, but I don't own any of those, and I don't have any comics about making sandwiches. So,
Jesus. And yet you keep talking about comics being the source of vaginas drying up, and you make statements like that. Are you sure you haven't identified the problem yet?
No, I'm pretty sure.
But
it's not me. Come on.
I actually hide a lot of my trade paperbacks behind books on like the occult, because that's less weird. Oh, a book on witchcraft. Don't pull that out. Why? Because you'll see my nerd shit behind it.
As if a book on witchcraft isn't nerdy enough already.
No, because that's educated and cool, like esoteric and a little weird, a little dangerous.
And besides, don't all girls mess with witchcraft in high school? At least that's what I've been led to believe.
Yeah, it's like lesbianism. They've all tried it once.
No.
You have the wrong type of girls, my friend.
You have a profoundly strange perspective on women, my friend. I'm just saying.
I just date a lot of crazy chicks.
Okay, speaking of crazy chicks, that makes a nice segue over to Brie Larson in Captain Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
For those of you who haven't seen, let's take a look at the thumbnail for today, which is my attempt at a giant fuck you at Brie Larson. Let's see how I did. What do you think?
Well, let's put it this way. It's got the anatomy right. That's a little bit closer to the Brie Larson. No, the Captain Marvel the Miss Marvel that I knew back in the 90s.
Yeah, so my intention originally was, so Captain Marvel's opening in a couple of days on International Women's Day, for those of you who didn't realize that they had timed that out very nicely. I honestly think that was supposed to be my guess is that was supposed to be a nice little side sort of coincidence. They looked at generally the dates and they're like, oh, hey, look, it's our first female-led Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. We've done like 20 so far. This is the first women one. We'll open it on International Women's Day. It was a nice, simple idea. That's what I think. And then Brie Larson was like, yeah, fuck white men. Like, it totally took the thing off the rails. That's my guess.
There's a lot of credence to that.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get much argument here.
Like, inherently, I have no problem with female-led story ideas. I've told you guys before, I tried my hand at plotting out a few comics and writing a number of story arcs. In the character I'm writing as a woman, I have no problem with female-led stories. I mean, when you go over to Mary Sue, and we will go over to Mary Sue today.
Oh, yes.
They read a lot of unfounded crap into male opinions on stuff. It's like, I'm sorry that Ghost Spider sucks. I'm sorry that America Chavez sucks. It's not because they're women. I don't have to talk about the fact that they have given genitals to explain why they suck.
Gwenpool is the other one.
Gwenpool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Consider, like, I mean, most of these things are just gender swaps of already extant popular characters. Do you know what I mean?
And they're using Gwen Stacy to do it. Why? Leave her dead. Her death was impactful.
I hear you. I don't disagree. I think it's just, look, if we're talking about, this is my guess. We need name recognition for the drooling idiots who buy these comics, but we want to do something new. So when it comes to well-known characters within Spider-Man's immediate circle, who's it going to be? It's got to be Mary Jane Watson is the most well-known one. After that, who is it? It's Gwen Stacy, and then who? Betty Brant? And Betty Brant, unless you're like, I mean, we're already getting obscure with her, and we're 3 people in.
Yeah. I was saying, no, the Gwen Stacy thing, it was riding the high from the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. It's like,
right.
That's all anyone ever talked about was the Gwen Stacy in that, and her death there. And it's important because that's the impact that she had in the comics.
Right.
And they're just trying to capitalize on that with, the future comics here and say, well, what if Gwen Stacy didn't die, but got spider powers?
That's what I'm saying. I think that's what was involved at the pitch meeting, and social justice swings a big stick, and they're like, but that's not a good idea. What are you saying? You hate women? No, your idea is great. And they went ahead with it. Like it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that sounds right. Hey, let me grab the Streamlabs real quick. Thank you, Inedible Trout. If Iron Man and Silver Surfer teamed up, they'd be alloys. Get it?
I do. And it's your generosity is appreciated, but boo.
No, that's funny. I liked it.
Frosted Glass says in chat, so do you think the first Jewish MCU movie will come out on Ash Wednesday? Now, what I find interesting.
Oh shit, that's cold, man.
I was thinking about referencing, for those of you who don't know, today is Ash Wednesday. And I thought about making some kind of joke about, like, how appropriate is it on Ash Wednesday? Captain Marvel, Brie Larson turning the MCU to ashes, etc. Something. But then I realized I'm co-streaming with a couple of fucking heathens who probably didn't know it was Ash Wednesday. So it's fine. It's fine.
I knew it because the newscaster had the stain on her forehead. And I was like, man, they should clean that bitch up. Oh, it's Ash Wednesdays.
What channel was that on?
That was Fox News.
Really?
Martha McCallum. She's kind of hot on that because I'm a creepy old guy, so I'm creeping on hot old ladies. She's like 40 or something. Just looks good.
There's plenty of women out there milfing it. It's fine. But I decided to not go in that direction, and unfortunately Frosted Glass got their head and turned it into a spicy joke. So all right, we'll just live with that.
Yeah, that's pretty spicy there, dude.
Yeah.
Is it going to be set in Germany too?
And Jean is like, yesterday was Ash Wednesday. Not where we're located. It's not.
Are they saving that for the Magneto movie?
Oh.
You know what? Ian McCallum, that's Magneto, right? That's his name?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Ian McCallum, yeah.
Okay. it's a good thing that they've got somebody as aged as him playing it, because Magneto is becoming increasingly unlikely to even be alive as a child who was thrown into a concentration camp in World War II.
Yeah, they're gonna have to adjust his history like they did with everybody else.
I was gonna say it's the sort of thing again. Yeah, he'll be a victim of the concentration camps from Trump. That's great.
Wow.
But like this is the, you know, going back on our whole thing. Comic books exist in this sort of nebulous time frame that there's no real one way to nail down someone's actual age or whatever in those sorts of things. Because I mean, Batman's been around since the 40s, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, if actually they could update Magneto's, not to completely derail that statement, but they could move him up to be like Croatian during the Bosnian conflict.
Oh, yeah.
And because there was a lot of ethnic cleansing going on there, so but make him Bosnian or Herzegovinian or Croatian or Slovenian.
Yeah, but they don't talk about the ethnic cleansing that went on there.
Oh no, well no, but I'm just saying that's a possibility. But Marvel's not that competent these days.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
I mean,
actually, Jewish superheroes are actually going to come up in a minute here with something else that I wanted to talk about, because I found out that somebody, a character, is a main aspect of their identity, of their background, is that they're ethnically Jewish, and I had no idea until I looked into it. So that actually relates to something else we're going to talk about. But speaking of things that relate to things we were talking about, Captain Marvel here. In looking for a hot picture of Captain Marvel to, like, say fuck you, Brie Larson, because you're a 6 and you think you're a 9, and she really does, man. I mean, come on. Yeah. She's under this impression that she's high fashion and gorgeous and etc. And I really think that that's a large part of what was at foot with the TSA incident with her.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It was like, how dare the plebeian try to ask me out? I'm a 10. What are you talking about? I'm Hollywood royalty.
I really, like, all jokes aside, I believe that. Like, it wasn't just like, you're slowing me down and I need to get somewhere, and she got angry and then flipped off in some kind of way. I don't think she had to be anywhere at any particular time. It was just that some TSA officer, agent, whatever they call them, asked her out, and she was like, just like you said, it's just like, who are you pleb, to, like, my God, you're not even a millionaire. You know?
Yeah. Well, she's like a Midwest 10. Like, you go to a small town in Nebraska or Wyoming or somewhere, she would be the hottest thing around. Out of like 20,000, 50,000 people, some like mid-sized city out in the Midwest. But she gets to California and she's like a 7.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's realized that yet.
Hold on. Where is this picture that I wanted to show that is just so indicative of her and her? Hold on. I will find it. I have it somewhere right here.
The thinking about Stan, what a legend.
It is. This is how Brie Larson sees herself. Literally. I love the like the monogrammed bag. I mean, wow, Brie. And you even got your designer $2,000 sneaker boot things that are color matched to your designer outfit, that are color matched to your designer glasses, and your handmade cocktail that was supposed to look like a spur of the moment, just random selfie.
Yeah.
I can never let this picture go. I can't. I know it's old, and this whole thing, because, like, how long ago did Stanley pass away? Like, it's been like, what, 5 months, 6 months?
Yeah, at least, yeah. You know what gets me about that picture is she probably didn't pay for any of that stuff. She probably got it all for free, because look at the way she's posing it.
Yeah.
That's probably part of the contract for getting it free. On top of that, there's nothing she's wearing that's less than $100.
Oh, dude, are you kidding? Nowhere near $100. Are you fucking serious? That bag is like a couple grand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she could probably sell all of that and pay off my student loan. Why don't you, bitch?
Shh, don't ever bring your student loans into it. Bitterness will result. It's just not good.
Oh yeah, I'm already bitter. I'm getting my my tombs or my epitaph engraved with "Come and get it, Sally Mae."
Have you, just as a quick side note, you want to talk about bitterness quiz? Have you ever been to Washington, D.C. and seen the building, the entire campus of structures that regulate American student loans?
No.
If you ever saw it, you think you're bitter now?
Right?
I'm just saying, like, don't.
I've got a major capacity to be bitter.
My reservoir is only a third full. You have no idea. But I can never let this go, because my opinion on what happened here is that Brie has a whole series of these pictures ready for IG, and this was one of them. And one of her handlers, probably her publicist, got a hold of her and said, Stanley died today. And she's like, Stanley Tucci? No, Stan, last name Lee, died today.
Oh,
who's
the
that?
Editor at the studio?
That was good, Polly.
Stanley Tucci. Jesus. I don't think anyone said that name in like a year in my presence.
Stanley Tucci's a great actor. What? I
mentions him.
Anybody who's seen Captain Marvel, the first Avenger, the best of all MCU films, knows who Stanley Tucci is. He plays the German doctor who, yeah. And by the way, this is a little side note. You realize that character, who's kind of like I don't know, what would you call him? He's not an ancillary character, because he's kind of crucial to the film, but he's not a huge part of the film.
Like a secondary character or something.
He dies as soon as Captain America becomes Captain America. So,
and it's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because he's a good actor.
Because he's a good actor, and they gave him great lines to say that. He points it at Steve Rogers' heart, and he goes, it's in here. This is why we don't want a bully. We want, for this program, for the super soldier program, we want someone who's going to be fighting the right way for the right things, because that's what matters. It makes you more of what you already are. Do we need a super bully? No, we don't. And it becomes this important thing. And he tells about like his background and how he was left Nazi Germany and all of the reasons and so on. Little tiny lines made the audience feel something. You care. So when he dies, you care. It's an ongoing meme when you have people that have no relevance or importance in a film, and they suddenly die, and you're like, oh no, not that guy.
Yeah.
Right?
It's the horror movie cliche about how the black guy always dies first.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that when you look at what's going on with Marvel movies, it's why do you care when Agent Coulson dies in the Avengers? He always had just a very small part in the film. Mm-hmm. Because with the few lines they gave him, they made him matter.
Mm-hmm. It was really the confrontation with Loki that made it matter, which is funny because like all of the interactions that Agent Coulson had all the way up until that point, he was kind of this joke of a character, kind of a doofy, insular character, and then he stares down Loki, gets killed, and has an awesome one-liner that gets rid of the bad guy, that gives a reprieve to the heroes, and it's impactful.
You know what? I don't think you're wrong, but that's like the culmination moment of his character in the movie, if you know what I mean. That's sort of like it's sad that he's lost, but why is it sad? The little interaction he has with Captain America when he's talking about the trading cards of Captain America from World War II, his vintage collection, mm-hmm. right? It's like it's a way through dialogue that it's explaining, dude, I'm totally fanboying right now because you're a hero to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what I mean? And it becomes this moment of tragedy when Nick Fury throws the bloody trading cards out on the table.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was because he was kind of this like happy-go-lucky kind of guy, like real kind of laid back. But when it mattered, he stepped up and he confronted someone he knew he didn't have a chance of defeating. Not really. So he sacrificed himself, and you knew that's what he was doing. And even all the little quips and everything made him look sort of incompetent, but lovable at the same time. But when it mattered, he stepped up and did what had to be done, even though it ended up costing him.
Yeah.
And that's how I always took it.
Seth just said, okay, change the picture. So, okay, fine. I'll change it back to this. I know we keep talking in and around this, but the discussion going on in popular culture around Captain Marvel, and it relates to comic books, which is something we're all interested in. Suddenly it becomes, holy shit, everybody's talking about this thing that we've loved for years, like just the general genre. And that's become exceptionally the case over the past number of years. Suddenly comic books matter in a way that they didn't before. And they become a central node of culture wars and shit like that, where, you know what, Brie Larson, Captain Marvel could be a good character, but you play her horribly. She's written horribly, and the people who write the character in the comics write her horribly. So nobody cares. Well,
I would say that my personal opinion coming out here, Time. No, she can't be a good character. I've never seen
I don't know about that.
Well,
she could be. I just deny that it's impossible to make a character good. I mean, Superman has all the reasons to not be an interesting character. He's like overpowered, nothing can hurt him, and they still manage to write him well. I think it's a question of putting a writer in there who actually cares and doesn't have a axe to grind and a big chip on their shoulder to broadcast ideology through this character.
Yeah, if you go back to like the early 2000s run on Avengers when Kurt Busiek was writing it and she was part of the team, I think she was using Warbird as her name for a while there.
Yeah,
those were really good stories. And then she had her own series that was in there for a little bit, and those were pretty good from what I read of them. I only read a handful leading up to Civil War, but ever since then, she's just been a total disaster because they want to inject all the identity politics crap, and that's really where she lost her way. She was a little convoluted before that, don't get me wrong. She's a tough character to write, but if you have a good person writing her, a talented writer, I think there's good stories you could tell with her. They just don't want to put the effort into telling those stories because there's some pretty dark stuff in her past, like living with her rapist and giving
birth to her rapist.
Yeah, that's kind of a whole convoluted mess.
We agreed to not talk about number 200. We agreed.
Yeah, right? But there's some dark stuff there, but she's got that kind of depth because of stuff like that could lead to interesting stories, to interesting adventures, but they won't take a chance with her. They don't want to be risky. Instead, it's just fighting the patriarchy and boring, predictable crap like that. And then just turned her into like a poster or one of those free giveaway comics.
Speaking of fighting the patriarchy, I don't know if you guys have heard this yet, and Chad, I don't know if you guys heard this, but the reviews are starting to come out because the silence upon review agreements that people who had early access to it is now sort of like up, so people can put their reviews out. And one thing that a lot of people are pointing out is that there's a hell of a lot of 90s nostalgia going on in the film. And at the moment when Captain Marvel realizes her full power and has come to a self-actualized woman who don't need no man and starts fighting on the big battleship, the song that's playing, have you guys heard about this?
Yes.
No, I haven't.
No doubt, just a girl.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just a girl in the world. Like, it's that is so fucking gay. That is so bad.
It's extremely on the nose.
That my whole body just kind of tightened up in like the worst cringe I've ever had.
I don't dislike No Doubt, but that's like that choice of song, that specific song in that specific circumstance is fucking dumb.
Absolutely.
It's so I guess from what I've read in the reviews of it, of Captain Marvel, that there are flashback scene after flashback scene repeatedly of all of the men in her life saying, you can't do anything, you're just a woman, stay in your place, and etc. So this is her big moment of self-actualization. So this song is, oh, so you think I'm just a girl? Well, look what I can do. And it's really, I don't remember Diana Prince having a moment like that in Wonder Woman.
Who's playing Captain Marvel? Is it Mary Tyler Moore?
And this goes back to this. Okay, it's like I know, Seth, you don't want to see it, but this is what I will never for you. This is you, Brie Larson, in all of your phoniness, in all of your attempted presented image of being strong and independent, and you will never, never be this cool or sexy or interesting. And that's why I picked a model. This is literally a model, in case you can't tell. I was blown away when I saw this picture. Going and looking for a sexy image of Captain Marvel. There are a number of illustrated images. Unfortunately, there was a number of Brie Larson images there too. And I was like, no, I want a actually cool, powerful, sexy version of Captain Marvel. And the best one I could find was a statue of her. And this is a statue. Excellently done. Incredible sculpting work. And Brie, for those of you who don't see this face, this is a grim determination face, not a complete lack of emotion face. That's right. The statue, the inanimate object, can emote better than Brie Larson. My God.
Frosted Glass has a good one in chat. That's like Daredevil playing She Blinded Me with Science.
That's good. I like it. So yeah, this should lead on to the I think this is a help me out here, Chris. A sideshow.
Sideshow, yeah.
This is a sideshow statue, which I only found out existed from Quiz. So Quiz, tell us about Sideshow.
Well, the Sideshow statues are a mainstay at a lot of conventions. For people that go there, they're like extremely high-end collectibles, worth a lot of money. I'll just bring up their website here and share that. You can see here some of these statues are just ridiculously well sculpted and things like that, but the price point matches. Here we go. Let's look at the Punisher one here. $700.
Fuck.
Yeah.
How tall is that one?
This one stands. Where is it? 27.95 inches.
Fuck.
So a little bit over 2 feet tall. But I mean, look. Frank Castle has never looked that good in the comics, man.
The realism that they can get in the faces is mind blowing. It's just.
If anybody wants to buy that for me, I'm going to throw my Streamlabs in the.
I know, right?
Because I can't afford that.
Oh man, it's even got an alternate head with a fucking bandana on.
That is one of the wild things. A number of those statues come with interchangeable heads and arms and stuff, so you can do different poses for them. Just unbelievable. I didn't even know that these were a thing, honestly, and it just since finding out, I'm blown away at the detail in them. And I mean, they're prohibitively expensive for me, but fuck, they're cool.
Oh yeah. I'll say the one for me. I'll say this: if anyone wants to donate to get me one of these, this is a life-size Harley Quinn. It stands 68 or no, what is it? Wait, hold on. It's a product size. Yeah, 68 inches tall. That is literally as tall as a person.
And it's only $5,200.
No, yeah, it's only $5,200.
Chat, but, don't buy it for Quiz. He'll be installing a fleshlight and fucking it. You don't know.
Well, the legs are kind of fixed, so it's
I don't want Harley Quinn sex dolls to become a thing, because I know Quiz will have one, and that's creepy.
I'm sure they probably already are. So I'm just saying. But yeah, the sideshow models are kind of awesome. They're geared towards the audience that can afford them, obviously.
Yeah.
These are always a mainstay at conventions. Almost every bigger convention will have a sideshow booth. And we'll be showing these sorts of statues there, and they can get to be they've got some that are fairly good on the price point. Let's see here. Let's just look up Harley Quinn.
Like they actually made Orko look cool.
Yeah, right. They had an Orko one there that looked actually really cool. But I mean, you've got some of them here. Like this one's really kind of cool looking, right? That one's only $435.
Only. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. They don't get to, like, well, here, this one's from was it Arkham Knight? It's only $90.
Ah, see, that's more in my price range, but that thing's probably like the size of a quarter.
No, it stands well 6 inches tall.
Yeah, see.
I'm okay with that. That's fine. It's great when they're large, but honestly, it becomes a thing of. See, this is where the problems with women happen. I mean, I got to tell you, Quiz, if a woman walks into your joint, you've got a life-size Harley standing there, you will be judged.
Well, I don't care.
It's an understatement. She's gonna think you have people tied up in the basement.
What do you do with that thing?
I don't even have it. I don't even have a basement.
I just.
That's what I would say too. You just got to cover those windows up and put some dirt around them.
No. That face on the right, that's creepy, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's supposed to be a villain, so I say this is fucking beautiful, though. I mean, look at that. That's
they're both kind of hot.
That exemplifies Poison Ivy's femme fatale, right?
Yeah. See, the one on the left is what I want to date. The one on the right is what I always end up with.
Right.
Do you think that? Wow. Okay. Sorry, I just got caught up looking at her butt.
Yeah.
Do you think anyone's going to do a life-size Ocasio-Cortez? You think that's a thing? She's in comics already.
God. Yeah, maybe.
I'm sure there's some real doll site that'll make that for you.
What got me thinking about this is that I would really like one of these.
If you show us a picture of Hillary.
No. Fucking Nightmare Batman.
Yes, Nightmare. And I say the you can see right there. It's got Prime One Studio. They're actually a studio that builds statues for Sideshow.
I mean, it's only 2,200.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But that one also stands 4 feet tall.
Yeah, I mean, look at the fucking detail, guys. I mean, all that shit.
I know. Yeah, the Sideshow are so incredible with the amount of detail and things that they do for it. I mean,
I love the nightmare moment that happens in
BVS.
In Batman v Superman. I think they kind of overstate it. They're like, from the blockbuster film. It wasn't a blockbuster, guys.
It wasn't.
and the coolest moment in the whole film for me was this. It was because I don't know. It was Batman with his duster on, and it's like, yeah, he can't really go with the whole thing of I don't have guns anymore because the world you live in doesn't allow that. So
Yeah. Well, the thing that got me about that is that in a fairly lackluster film that has an extremely disappointing ending, that bit was the bit that got me excited because it showed parademons.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's never going to come to fruition now. That whole like future storyline of Zack Snyder's notion of bringing in Darkseid and everything like that. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're reforming it.
Yeah, so do I. They might do like a really lackluster Flashpoint and reset everything.
One thing that and what started all of this is bounding in a comic story, and I actually haven't read this, so I'm curious what Affleck has to say. Ben Affleck reveals Matt Reeves' Batman will be a starting out vision. Okay, since he's made it official, he will no longer be wearing the cape, and I think that's sad. I think they did him wrong, man. Whatever. Ben Affleck feels more comfortable talking about the Batman and what he knows. On the promotional rounds for his new feature, Triple Frontier, as luck would have it, everyone is asking questions about Batman. The latest candid comments via Entertainment Tonight, Affleck avoided serious spoilers, but did confirm something that we've been hearing and reporting. Batman will be a youngster, fresh on the scene. Quote, I'm looking forward to it. They've got a great director. They're doing a kind of, I don't want to give away anything but they're doing a young version, a more starting out version with a younger guy. I don't think the older grizzled Batman was ever the problem. In my opinion.
Yeah, I think that they were probably just giving him not enough to do.
Yeah.
And it's Zack Snyder, man. I mean, Zack Snyder, he's really good at adapting things, but they didn't wrangle him in on things like BVS. That's what I think that was the major failing for that movie. If they'd have had a clear design about what they wanted to do, then it could have been a better movie. But as it stands, they crammed so much shit into it.
Frosted Glasshouse, why the hell would Batman wear bat headgear in the desert in the middle of the day? That scene was so stupid. What are you talking about, man? That scene was fucking awesome. The idea was it was a dystopian desert future with the city in the background that had turned into some kind of desert because some kind of apocalyptic event had occurred from the coming of Darkseid and so forth. And it's like he's wearing the bat headgear because he's like, I don't know, hardcore dystopian Batman where he doesn't ever really take the bat suit off at this point. That's what I took away from it. What did you guys think?
I assumed he had a bat air conditioner in there.
Well, yeah. Unending tech.
I assume that he needs it to wear it for it being a symbol, like he was still a hero. And the bat cowl is enough to be easily identifiable as being the hero, as one of the good guys amongst the dystopian future.
Plus, it is armor.
Plus what?
It's armor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's a fake ass comic world armor somehow that protects him, protects his head, even though it's thin as hell. Yeah, I'm okay with it. He's got Wayne Enterprises to develop these things, you know. And Quiz, I think you're right, because isn't the whole point of when Superman shows up to kill him, the first thing he does is like, "You're not Batman," and pulls his cowl off, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's why would he wear it? For the symbolism of it, that I'm fighting against this super authoritarian.
Yep.
Literally.
Yeah.
Plus, it was a dream sequence, so he could have been wearing a tutu, and it would make sense because it's a dream.
But wouldn't have made nearly as cool of a statue.
Wouldn't it? Batman wearing a trench coat and a tutu?
No, that wouldn't have been cool.
I might own that.
So the idea is that, excuse me, it's gone through so many iterations now that Ben Affleck is absolutely a competent writer and director. If anything, he's a better writer and director than he is a fucking actor. It's kind of seemed to turn out that way. Was going to direct The Batman, but then everything went so wrong and so horribly, and Sad Fleck happened, and yeah, now he's like, I don't want to be part of this anymore. I'm just moving the fuck on. Affleck passed the torch, he says here, in all respects to Reeves, and first tweeted his anticipation in January. He left the project and over creative and personal struggles, stating he couldn't find a story he was happy with when writing it. Reeves and Warner Brothers hit the reset button and want to go back to what worked for Christopher Nolan. Oh, God. Though we don't know if the Batman will be an origin story like Batman Begins. So because Zack Snyder's depression fest that was 2 fucking films in a row, 3, I think I would still consider Justice League bearing the marks of Zack Snyder's depression, wouldn't you?
I'd use the word scars.
Scars, yes. Pop Tart says Willow would love to do Batman. Yeah, it's all the reason to not do it.
Here's the thing, though, Polly. You know, you run the risk of getting punched, but there was something that was very interesting at Gen Con 2018. You know, rip Jeremy Hambley. But there was this. It was an exclusive mini for the Gen Con. Nightmare Batman is a 32 mil miniature.
See, nothing wrong with that. I mean, he's so cool looking. I don't know. I think one of the things that always appeals to me, why I like the Nightmare Batman so much, is that it's one of Bruce Wayne's characteristics is he's supposed to have the indomitable will. And even when the whole world goes to hell and Darkseid's taken over and Superman's become this ultra authoritarian, Batman's still there fighting. He's the guy will never fucking give up until you fucking burn him into cinders. And that's what Superman had to ultimately do to him. I love that idea. The guy that he's just a simple human being, but it's his willpower that'll never stop. I love that idea. It's just so cool. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it looks like from all outward signs in The Batman, that they're just, this Warner Brothers is just going to, well, what was the last successful series we had since Zack Snyder fucked it up for us? Oh, well, let's go back to the last thing that worked. How corporate thinking is that?
Yeah.
they were smart. They'd rehired Jeff Johns.
Well, I was gonna say the last thing that worked. You mean Aquaman? What you mean
Yeah.
Wonder Woman?
Yeah, and Jeff Johns guided those movies a lot more than people are letting on because he really had a hand in Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
That was more his movie than the director's.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh
man. Man, we really are overseeing the downfall of an industry and a genre we love. Because even when we're trying to be positive, talking about how awesome these statues are, we end up going, "Oh, yeah, fucked everything up." Like it's just.
Well,
Sideshow didn't fuck anything up.
I'm a curmudgeon. I don't know what your excuses are.
Well, what story should we cover for? I don't know. Do we want to get into Captain Marvel right away? There's just so much. You know what? Let's serve some of my personal anger against something.
Okay.
Shit.
People without smoking jackets?
Smoking jackets are cool, and everybody who's of a certain level of class should have one. I mean, what else are you going to wear when you're smoking? A t-shirt? Come on.
Well, no, it's got to be a wife beater, and then you got to yell Stella.
Oh, see, that's what I'm saying. I mean, how can you sit back in a nice leather chair in front of a fireplace with a dog at your feet, yelling Stella and a wife beater with spaghetti stains? I mean, that's just.
Well, I would have a dog, but the barrel I'd be hanging around that had the fire in it, and then wearing a velvet smoking jacket. The other homeless people are going to be upset with me. They'd be like, "Where'd you get that? Why do you keep putting that on?"
So what's made me angry most recently is Kwanzaa, that we affectionately know as Kwanzaa, thanks to your boy Zach. Kwanzaa Unga Bunga Fungo here, and Jamal Igle launch. I love this headline. It says so much. Kwanzaa and Jamal Igle launch Kickstarter for Black, follow up white. Jesus Christ. For those of you who don't know,
I think it's actually pronounced white.
White, yes. And as what Kwanzaa's middle name is pronounced, like, I have no idea. He doesn't want to go by his last name. What is it? Cooper, I think.
Kwanzaa Cooper.
That's pronounced Osajeffo.
Osajeffo? Is that how you say that?
Yeah.
Okay. Kwanzaa Osajeffo Cooper. I think it's Quiz. Can you look it up? What's his last name?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Cooper. He just doesn't want to go by that because it's not African diaspora enough for him. And that's this guy's entire identity. As Tommy Sotomayor would say on YouTube, the spicy ass comedian, it's like there's certain people out there that are pro-black. It's not that they're down for black people. They're literally professionally black. That's how they make money. Which I thought was a funny joke. You're professionally black. That's great. It's like, what's his name? The white nationalist alt-right guy.
Sean King?
Richard Spencer?
Yeah, Richard Spencer.
Sean King. No, Richard Spencer. That guy, it's like, I'm pro-white. Yeah, you're professionally white. Exactly. You make money off of being white. I can't believe nobody before Tommy thought of that line. That's priceless. Anyway, Jamal Igle and Kwanzaa here. They write, they like X-Men, right? So they want to write their own comic book. And because they're completely lacking any creative abilities whatsoever, they come up with X-Men, but the only people who have X-Men powers are black. Because
Johnson.
There you go.
Kwanzaa Osajeffo Johnson.
Do you see what I'm saying? How obvious is it what the guy's doing there? It wasn't African diaspora enough for him. So I'm going to be named after a holiday, Osajeffo Johnson. So your name is Boxing Day Johnson. Basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
But he's named after a holiday. I didn't make it up.
Is it Osajeffo or is it Osajeffo?
I think it's pronounced Osajeffo.
It's closer than Oingo Boingo or whatever I called him. No, wait a minute. That's a band.
That's fine. Oh, he's Kwanzaa Milli Vanilli.
You know what I didn't know for the longest time? The frontman for Oingo Boingo is the guy who's gone on to do so many scores for movies, including a fuck ton of comic book movies. This guy did 89 Batman. He did, what's his name?
Danny Elfman.
Danny Elfman. Yeah.
Mhm.
I didn't know he was the front man for Oingo Boingo.
Mhm.
What is a guy who has the talent for writing for an entire orchestra fronting a pop band?
Getting his foot in the door in the industry.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I guess that's why he was willing to write
Really
the theme
dumb.
for The Simpsons, which he also did, and I didn't realize that was a thing.
Oh yeah. Danny Elfman is the go-to composer for everything. What's his name? Oh God.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. That's his name.
For Tim Burton, yeah.
Yeah, everything Tim Burton. That's all Danny Elfman, man. Including Batman.
Including Batman.
Mm-hmm.
No, Danny Elfman is, I mean, he did the scores actually for a whole bunch of movies, but a lot of comic book movies as well. He also did it for the Spider-Man theme for, what's his name, Spider-Man's films. What are the first three? What's the director's name?
Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi, thank you. Yeah, he did the themes for that as well. I'm really into movie scores. They're like classical music done cool, because you get the full orchestra thing going on, but they're high energy. It's tough to find high energy in classical music unless you're looking at I can't remember anyone's name today. The guy who did Ride of the Valkyries.
Ooh,
Wagner, thank you.
yes.
That's like Wagner's high energy, but other than that, like if you want orchestra music that's really like sweeping and full of energy, yeah, go to movie scores, man. That's
Frosted Glass said in chat, Africa McNegro Black was taken, so he went with Kwanzaa.
You know what? You're not wrong, Frosted Glass. That's what when I say it's not African diaspora enough, that's what I'm saying. Like Africa McNegro Black. That's like, for those of you who haven't seen the clip from CB4 where Payne's character breaks off a Killer Mike or whatever his name is, breaks off from the group CB4 and goes and does his own pro-black music. And do you remember what it sounded like? And I'm black, y'all. And I'm black, y'all.
And I'm blackity black. And I'm black, y'all.
Yeah, because at its lowest form of creativity, that's all the hip-hop artists who want to talk about that can do. And that at its highest form, you get Public Enemy, amongst others. Great music. You know what I'm saying? And it's like at its lowest form of wanting to do African lineage or proud African American identity stuff, at its lowest form, you get Black by Jamal Igle and Kwanzaa McNegro Black here. Oisa Jeffo Johnson. Dude, you're just, yeah, I know I'm busting balls on this guy, but I don't know how else to say it. This guy is professionally black, sells it at its lowest level of creativity, and anybody who points it out, he calls a racist.
Well, that reminds me of a story that Lyle McDouchebag told once on a podcast. He said to pass the time one time when he was waiting for his car to get fixed, he went to a Scientology building and took their test. And when they went in for his audit, they were going over the paperwork and they said, it says here that your occupation, you are a professional gay? And he goes, certified, yes.
Wow.
I can think of a few people on social media that are professionally
gay, yes.
Like an absolutely, yeah, there's a number of people that are like that. I mean, what's her name? Ellen
DeGeneres?
No, the other lesbian.
Paige.
Ellen Page has become a professional lesbian.
No,
she's a professional gay.
Forehead. She hits things with her forehead. I showed you the picture of Bonk, you know, the old Sega video game. She's taken over that for the week.
So this is going to be a very tangential stream, I'm feeling, guys. We're just
figure that out now.
Yeah. I try to bring it back in. I do.
You tried. I'm not going to let you do that.
So why I've gotten particularly frustrated, because it's like Kwanzaa is actually a small operator in the grand scheme of things. So why pay so much attention to him? Which is a totally fair question. When your boy Zach did a video earlier on about the release of their this team's second GoFundMe comic book, or Indiegogo, whatever they're on, comic book, Jamal Igle immediately tweeted out, "Thank you, your boy Zach, Diversity in Comics, for the half-hour free advertising. You took the bait." And it's like, so why even talk about these guys? And I thought about it for a second, and it's like, are they right? Are we taking bait? I would respond, possibly. But in the end, it doesn't really matter because you're going to operate at such a low level of success because of the complete lack of creativity. The only people that are going to be buying your comics are like-minded fools like yourselves. And frankly, there aren't that many of you.
Well, like-minded fools and people that are buying it to hate read.
Yeah. Which will lead us in speaking of like hate attention given to things and traffic, we'll bring up the Mary Sue in a bit. But for right now, we were talking about that before the stream started and on Twitter DMs earlier today. I swear that people like us are half the reason that Mary Sue and the Root and Jamal Igle and company have any traffic or traction whatsoever. It's ironic comedic joy that we're getting out of it.
Oh yeah.
That's so. In any case, the Kwanzaa Igle creation Black, and you can keep calling it Black. We know what its actual title is. It's Black AF. It's black as fuck because they're bliggity black, y'all. Where it's like I said, it's X-Men, except the only people who have mutant-like powers are black. And the pitch line for it is, what about a world where the only people who had superpowers were black? It's like, I don't know. That sounds like a pretty stupid premise. Well, I am a strong believer in the idea that it could be done interestingly, but I've read Black as fuck, and it's not.
Well, the only thing that comes to mind is that if we're going by the same victim narrative, then that just means that every cop is to immediately and automatically assume that every black person is armed and dangerous because they have superpowers. Isn't that just going to exasperate the problem there, Kwanzaa?
Which is exactly what happens in the comic. It becomes, there already wasn't, being black, like driving while black is the crime. So you get pulled over by racist white cops. And
that's redundant, Holly.
Well, of course it is. I stand corrected. But as soon as black people are revealed to be inherently superpowered, that becomes the excuse to criminalize all black people beyond what they already are criminalized as. And it's like, wow, that's a thinly veiled metaphor there.
It's so thinly veiled that I had
guy.
Boxing Day. It's so thinly veiled that I was taking the piss and I was right.
Yeah.
I've got the first 6 issues of that Black miniseries, and it's just lazy writing because it's not even good race baiting. It's lazy on the level of like fundamentalist Christian videos, where the little kids start quoting the Bible. It's that level of lazy. Like, you're not even trying.
Yeah.
What's sad is you can tell Kwanzaa's got some talent. He just chooses to go down this racial route instead of writing something interesting.
He has written for other series before, and Jamal Igle is not untalented himself. My point is that they're using the level of success that they've achieved through actual writing achievement, through actual artistry achievement, to turn into this level of race card pullers. I don't know what else to call it. Do you think you're doing anything for anyone? This does not equal representation, even though they constantly use that term. Oh, no. By the way, Jack knows already because he's read the 6 issues. Quiz. Any guesses on what superpowered black people are called in this universe?
No idea.
Empowered.
Hey, you know what? That's already a joke, and you owe Adam Warren for that one there, Kwanzaa.
Like, I hate when you hear something and you're like, why did I guess that? It's so obvious that they would have went to that level of lack of creativity to do something like that. It's so on the nose. It's so obvious. I should have seen it coming. Yeah. My God.
Like, look at this picture. It says man first. Really, his name is the Man.
Well, let's talk about the follow-up to the blockbuster successful Black, the comic called White. Because of course it is. Co-creators Kwanzaa Jeffo Johnson and Tim Smith 3. Jesus Christ. Can you just call yourself Tim Smith or Tim Smith the Third? You go by Tim Smith 3. You suck, buddy. Anyway, Inkpot award-winning Jamal Igle, yeah, he's smothered in awards for doing very little other than being professionally black, which is just sad. And cover artist Carrie Rudolph announced today the launch of a crowdfunding campaign to produce the graphic novel Hawaii, the second part of the trilogy that began the critically acclaimed graphic novel Black. In Black, the creative team, along with editor Sarah Litt, toner blah, 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 explored a world where only black people got superpowers. In Hawaii, the comic deals with how America, with 3 Ks, reacts to it. Spoiler alert, not particularly well.
So wait, if this is a 3-part miniseries, what's the third part? If we've got black and white already,
I'm guessing it's yellow, so we
Gray?
can Asians.
Well, the yellow is going to be like if they're going to go that route, then yellow is just going to be the fact that all black and white people are going to be turned into subsistence farmers by the Asian overlords, because they're the ones that are actually running everything, right? Because they've got all the money, they've got all the high-paying jobs.
Quote, how does a nation struggling with a history of racial inequality cope in a world where only black people have superpowers, said Kwanzaa Boxing Day Johnson. Quote, our story asks, in a time of supposed inclusion and diversity, how far will those in charge push back to retain the status quo? And the answer is, as Jack alluded to, Man. Yes, the villain of the series is actually named Man. He's literally Mr.
The Man.
He's literally the Man.
He's the Man.
So he's the Man fighting a bunch of black empowered people. Like, man, you have no creativity. None.
I got $5 that says this ends with the main character Jamal, who's the hero from the first series, dressing up like a clown and bashing him and saying, homie, don't play that.
Oh man, a In Living Color reference. Nice.
And in case you can't tell of what's going on from the cover here, let's just put our mind on the lowest level of creativity that could happen, where everything is a poor parallel to current year, and they're skewed, shoulder chipped version of current year, of course, right? White, Man, who of course is white in the comic book, MANN, so you didn't realize he just meant the Man, is a wealthy industrialist from New York who runs for the presidency on a racist platform and gets elected. I'm not kidding.
Of course.
Yeah.
So he's also literally Hitler.
Yeah. I don't know if you realize that, but he's alluding to Trump there, guys. Did you see it? Did you notice?
Only in Trump's America.
And it turns out that for the past 400 years, black people have had superpowers, and evil white people have been taking advantage of them and using them as a natural resource, kind of like it happens in Genosha in the X-Men world, where the nation of Genosha was using mutants as a natural resource that they were arguing under the law. They represent a natural resource. So yes, they're dangerous. Yes, we need to restrict them by law, and we're going to lock them up. And if you have the power of fusion, we're going to put you at the center of a fusion reactor and use you to power, Quiz, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh.
This is the storyline inside of X-Men. So this guy can't stop ripping off X-Men for the sake of presenting his skewed worldview.
It's almost like he read X-Men and didn't realize that it was supposed to be an allegory. And he's all like, I'm going to make it all about the actual racism.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so for years and years, for centuries, white people had known that black people had superpowers and were suppressing them and using them spitefully for their powers. So I just can't wait to see what's going to be happening back in colonial times. What story is it you're going to tell, buddy? How were superpowered or empowered black folks being used by, I don't know, slave traders, let's say, in the colonial South? This is going to be fascinating. Let's see how deep these people are willing to dive with this garbage. And I call it garbage because, again, I'm a firm believer in anything can be written well. It's just that these guys are not willing to write anything above Trump bad, black people empowered, white people scared of black empowerment.
And why I get evil. Yeah.
And I don't believe that there's anything useless or counterproductive in pointing out how sad this is, because let me tell you why. Comicbooks.com did a complete article on this Indiegogo comic that's being launched, that the original series Black didn't sell that well. They got just enough money to have something that could be referred to as a profit margin outside of production and shipping, right? We go over to CBR. Same thing. Kwanzaa launches Kickstarter for Black sequel White. The list goes on and on and on. If you go to Jamal Eigel's Twitter, you will see all he does is tweet out people that wrote glowing articles all across every garbage tier so-called news site promoting, hey, launch of this new thing. Hey, launch of this new thing. This is more attention than I have seen given, all jokes aside, to any independent comic book. I've never seen anything like this. So why are they promoting it? Well, I'll leave that up to you guys to take a guess as to, you chat. Why do you think that all of these, it's a moderately successful, could barely be called profitable independent comic book from writers that are barely well known inside the industry and artists that are barely known inside the industry. So why promote the fuck out of them like this? I'll leave that up to you.
Because they're black.
Vortex.
That's pretty negative. I don't know.
Vortex makes a good point. Wait, so black people have superpowers and white dudes still have the upper hand? How infantilizing is that? Yeah, I agree.
Somebody had tweeted out in response to Eigel, who just burned him up. So Eigel sends out this tweet and says, thanks so much to CBR.com or other garbage tier site for sending this blah, 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 and doing an interview with us. And he responded, how is this not a reiteration of We Was Kang's meme? We were powerful in the past, and white people stole this from us and used us spitefully to their own advantage, and then claimed the power was actually theirs. That's not a bad comparison between the We Was Kang's meme and your guys' storyline. It's a bad X-Men ripoff combined with We Was Kang's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I think it's more of a black power fantasy. It's getting one over. Like, secretly, we're still really powerful,
right?
It's something like that. But it's aimed at people that are racially motivated. I think this is a hustle. It's like a snake oil salesman. He's selling to a specific market, and he knows he could get the money out of them. I mean, he's already halfway to his goal. I'm looking at his Kickstarter right now. It's at 15,500 out of 40,000. So he knows how to hustle and make the money, and it's really just a cash grab. Because, I mean, 40 grand, that's not a lot of money to put a book out, but he's already got a publisher lined up, because Black Mask is probably going to publish this.
Right. Yeah.
So there's really no payment necessary for this. It's just a cash grab.
And in lies the description of being professionally black. It's if you, Jamal Eigel, or you, Boxing Day Johnson, decided to put out a comic book that was not pulling the race card, at least not in this painfully obvious of a way, would you get the promotion from CBR and comicbook.com and, oh God, the Hollywood Reporter? For Christ's sake, the Hollywood motherfucking Reporter. Would you get that kind of attention if it wasn't this kind of race baiting? I would argue that you wouldn't. There's no way. I mean, Cyberfrog certainly wasn't covered, and that's the most successful independent comic book ever. Like, crowdfunded, I should say. Crowdfunded comic book ever.
Well, Kwanzaa's got a lot of media connections from previous jobs that he had, so he knows people.
Right.
Can hook him up. So, yeah, I mean, the fix is already in. It's, a lot of grandstanding, but virtue signaling by these media outlets. They get something they want, which is to look like they're sensitive to minorities or whatever. And he gets to race hustle and make some money off of people that are identitarians and black nationalists. And on top of that, he gets to sell the movie and merchandising rights, which is where the real money's at.
Yeah, you know what? I was
pretty bold assumption that they'd be making that into a movie.
Well, somebody already optioned the black one.
And therein lies the point that I was just about to make. Somebody was pointing that out to me that is doing their master's degree in film studies, but they're not taking the technical side of it. They're aiming at the contractual business side of it to be an agent within the field. I didn't know that you could do specific studies in school for that. And it is optioning as a giant business. And I was like, oh, right. Yeah, I guess it is. To be a producer and to have the knowledge of the history of doing that and how it gets done, you can take a master's, a 1-year master's in that. Anyway, that's what he's doing. And he points out the amount of people that take IPs, intellectual properties, and they don't care whether or not it gets made into a film. That's not the point. The point is to realize a profit off of optioning the notion. So it's like Black, would that ever be made into a film? It doesn't matter. Some companies are willing to lay out tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes running into hundreds of thousands of dollars, to stop other film companies from doing so, because it's similar to an idea that they've already got in the works. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
They consider it a promotional cost. It's so another company doesn't put out a film that's too close to something we've already got. We're going to go option everything that's even close to it. So a small studio doesn't live off of our advertisement by putting out a lookalike film. And I'm like, holy shit, I didn't even realize that side of the industry existed.
Oh, yeah. I'll say it doesn't always work out, though. I mean, look at all of the horror movies that came out about evil nuns around the time that Nun came out.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a horror film called Nun?
Yeah, it was.
I didn't know that.
Of the Conjuring movies.
Yep.
Huh. So you got, you know, like you said, Jack, it's like, you know, it's sometimes it isn't even about, I don't care if it gets made into a film. It would be nice if it did, but I harbor no fantasies. The whole point is I just want to realize some thousands of dollars, however many that might be, negotiated up as far as I can to realize some profit off of this little comic book I made. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. That's not a bad idea. I'm firmly of the belief that Rob Liefeld has optioned all kinds of properties of his that will never be made into films. And it doesn't matter because he's made money off of it. He didn't have to do anything other than sign a contract.
Yeah, you get a little bit of name recognition and you have some intellectual property. You can profit off of that the rest of your life, or at least for a good long while. And the more properties you have, the more intellectual properties you have to license out. So not only for merchandising and movies and TV series and, you know, online series, Netflix, that sort of thing. There's a lot of different markets you can shop things around to. A real good example is Robert Kirkman. He made a bunch of money off Walking Dead, the comic. Then he optioned it into a very successful TV series where he got an executive producer credit. So he gets paid residuals on re-airing episodes. Then he goes and makes Oblivion Song. He makes Hardcore, several other ideas to kind of expand his potential universe there. And then you market all of those out, not only through the original comic books, then you have the trade paperbacks, action figures, TV series, movies, whatever. It's a brilliant way to do it if you have any ounce of creativity and any amount of name recognition. By the way, if you'd like to buy my books on Amazon, I'll throw a link in the description.
Holy fuck.
And that's what we call shameless self-promotion.
That's right, because I'm poor.
Are you racially shelling with your books?
No, but I probably should be.
Is there any heavy-duty racist content in them?
No, I did use the word retard in one of them, though.
My God.
The joke is that it's a hate speech crime.
You know, Jack Gunsky says that guy's probably rich as hell, like meaning Boxing Day Johnson there?
Robert Kirkman, probably.
Oh, Robert Kirkman. Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Kirkman's a multimillionaire 10 times.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even look at George R.R. Martin. He wrote a bunch of books before Game of Thrones, and all of those have been optioned now.
Oh, yeah. Think about the brand recognition that would have, you know, from the writer of Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin. Oh, my God. Everyone's going to see that movie. Doesn't matter how good it is.
Exactly.
What was the... Shit, I just lost my train of thought. We were talking about something else. What the hell was it? Kwanzaa, and then options, and then... Yeah, fuck it. It'll come back later or it won't. I wanted to talk about this, that I saw this tweet, and then your boy Zach put up a video about it, and I was like, holy shit, you stole my idea. And Then Bounding Into Comics had an article about it. I'm like, well, that makes it convenient because they kind of covered the detail for me. Andy Corey insults readers, insinuating that they're the villains. What I love about this, like, this guy's missing his soy beard and the soy face, you know, with the popped open mouth, like that, because he's got the problem glasses. And this guy is one of the worst ideologues working out there, especially at DC Comics, because he's responsible for what happened at Vertigo. Wow. DC Comics editor Andy Corey, who edits a number of Vertigo Comics titles, including American Carnage. For those of you who don't know, it's about a white passing former FBI agent that goes undercover inside of a white nationalist organization. Very subtle. Goddess Mode, for those of you who don't know, written by five guys.
Zoe Quinn.
Is good old Zoe Quinn, who has no history of fiction writing whatsoever and is a failed game developer, but she was the target of a whole bunch of misogyny, Gamergate stuff, so that somehow qualifies her to write this fucking trash crap Goddess Mode over here.
I'm gonna say she has plenty of experience writing fiction. That's all she writes.
when you were trying to think of her name and you said Five Guys, it's like, what, she worked at a burger restaurant?
You haven't seen how many people, like back in the day, tweeted at Zoe Quinn just pictures of Five Guys restaurants?
No, I was not around for Gamergate. I'm a boomer.
Fair enough. For those of you who don't know what we were talking about, Zoe Quinn had 5 different guys that she was intimately involved with. Allegedly intimately involved with, had romantic relationships with, that were all journalists, so-called journalists inside of the game coverage field, and they all gave extremely glowing reviews of her game Depression Quest, which was a text-only game that, as I understand it, even for a text-only game, was pretty lackluster about going through the trials of actual clinical depression. And this was her brilliant contribution to the gaming field, and everybody gave her glowing reviews. And it turns out the 5 guys that gave her glowing reviews were all guys she had allegedly had romantic involvement with. And it's like, you guys have no ethics. And that was one of the things that got the ball rolling of Gamergate, where it's like, where's the ethics in journalism? You guys are just promoting friends and ideologically like-minded people. And speaking of ideologically like-minded people, we got Andy Corey over here, who has seemingly found suitable to edit and support Zoe Quinn to write a comic when there's starving comic writers out there that would kill for a top-tier chance writing for a DC imprint with the legendary name of DC Vertigo that had a great background. And this guy, with his dumbass, is no problem destroying the reputation of that. Because what was the Border Town, which was just racially involved and stupid as fuck, and an anti-Trump white nationalist conspiracy theory comic book that was somehow related to alternate universes, and it was all related to what, immigrants and the southwest border in the United States, and et cetera, et cetera.
I read it. I still don't know what it was about.
Yeah, I've read it as well, and we reviewed it in previous comic book curation live streams. Check our backlog for that.
And we can't know, though, because we'll never get the ending, guys.
Yeah, but there won't be an ending now, because Robbie Rodriguez turned out to be allegedly a, what, sexual accoster of women?
Yes. Well, it's a sexual... He got hashtag Me Too'd.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah.
He got Me Too'd pretty viciously, but this guy who's a big time, our boy Andy here, who's a big male feminist, saw fit to bring this guy on, even though these rumors have been floating around this guy for a long time. Who the fuck knows? And it's American Carnage hasn't done very well at all. It's going to end its limited run unceremoniously. What's the other one that just got canceled before it got started? Second Coming.
Second Coming, yeah.
Yeah. Which, let's hire Richard Pace, a barely successful Canadian comic book artist, combined with, oh shit, who's the writer of that? No, fuck, I already forget. It's like, let's do some 90s cringe, you know, all the Christians are out to control us, and this edgy boy humor in and around Jesus returning to Earth, because yeah, that's totally topical. You guys are hardcore. Oh yeah, and then the guy who co-wrote or who drew this book, Goddess Mode, for Zoe Quinn, that Zoe Quinn wrote, he himself is he's not professionally gay, he's part-time gay in terms of making money off of it, but it does seem to be his social media identity. He's the guy who famously started Anusgate.
Oh, Robbie Rodriguez, Mr. Butthole.
Yeah. For those of you who don't remember, he's the guy who took pictures of his asshole, literally, and tweeted them publicly out to Ethan Van Sciver as a show of, I don't know, protest, disrespect, whatever the fuck.
Got him.
Yeah.
I'm going to send him my butthole. Got him.
Yeah. So anyway, this guy is responsible for all that, but let's see what he, in this collapsing thing that is DC Vertigo, the imprint, this guy's largely responsible for it as the editor. And what's his response to it? Well, including Goddess Mode and High Level, took to Twitter to insinuate that comic book readers and fans are villains. Corey wrote, quote, "What people actually mean when they say they want non-political comics like when they were kids is that they're devastated to have woken up one day as an adult, read a comic book, and realized they'd grown up to become the kind of person their childhood hero punches in the face."
What?
They're Nazis. People who want non-political comics are fucking Nazis.
Punch a Nazi. Okay.
Yeah. That's what he's getting at. I mean, it's
so edgy, so real.
yeah.
I feel like every time I look at this picture of him, I feel like I should like call up an old manager and be like, "There's someone here that wants to talk to you." That's the look on his face. Like, I'd like to speak with your manager or somebody from corporate.
Yeah, this guy has a problem. I think that, like, speaking on behalf of women and POCs and the LGBTQ plus community, that I don't feel that this is proper. This is the kind of guy who, if you read his Twitter, and I have, unfortunately, half hour of my life I'll never get back. That's where I originally came across that tweet that I threw up on screen a little bit ago. This guy doesn't just virtue signal, but uses LGBT POC as a shield to moralize all over the place. And these people are bad, and these people are bad, and so on.
No, he reminds me of the dude from that meme, the fat guy. Have you learned your lesson?
Oh yeah, Linkara.
Yeah, Linkara. That's his name.
Yeah. His tweet would be heavily criticized, with former Marvel artist John Malin writing, quote, "They don't want heavy-handed political bias. You think you're here to win a culture war. You're in a business to entertain and create escapist fantasy for teens/adults that work hard and want to chill. You've contempt for your audience. You have.
It's supposed to be. Yeah.
Oh, I see. You have contempt for your audience. Yeah. That votes different. And this is why you fail." Yep. Others would I don't think you're terribly wrong. Others would criticize Curry's statement. "Politics were hella light when I got into comics in the 90s. Body Bag, Spawn, Savage Dragon, X-Men, Superman, Kingdom Come, etc. There were exceptions, of course, like Dark Knight Returns. But even then, the point wasn't political." Yeah.
Let's say, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, too. It's not necessarily the fact that comic books can't have a political sort of edge or a political bias, okay? The difference is that when people say they don't want politics in comics, it's not that they don't want politics in comics, it's that they don't want to be preached to. Right?
Yeah.
This is going back to what I said. Was it last comic book curation, or was it on Minions? I can't remember. When I said we want entertainment, not a lecture.
Exactly. Because that's what it turns into. They're boring, predictable, and it feels like somebody wagging their finger in your face while handing you a chick track.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be told what a bad person I am. I just want to be entertained. Dance for my amusement.
And if you It's like, well, your messages are too politically heavy-handed and so forth. If you read through the tweets and read the interviews with a powerful executive over at Marvel by the name of Sana Amanat, she outright says it. I have no place in comics. I got my job because somebody thought that my voice needed airing, needed to be there. What does it mean by her voice? A woman and a Muslim. And her voice was there. So she views it as her mission, in her own words, to promote other people that's voice is not heard. So it's the forced diversity, forced inclusion. And what do I mean by forced? How about Miss Marvel? About Kamala Khan. Here's a character that isn't terribly popular, that isn't terribly interesting. She just happens to be a young female Muslim with really bad superpowers, by the way. Her fists get big. It's just terrible.
It's called embiggening, you bigot.
They actually are. They actually are.
They stole a line from The Simpsons and tried to claim it as their own. It's lazy.
Her powers are perfectly cromulent, Jack. It's fine.
Yeah, well, she just got another relaunch to the Magnificent Miss Marvel, which is just as lazy.
She will never die as a character as long as Sama Amanat is there, because she's a very powerful executive at Marvel and has decided that Marvel will be a, quote, lifestyle brand. Well, whatever the fuck that is supposed to mean.
I maintain that any character can be written well, but they have to change things, and they're not willing to do that. They haven't learned anything. Paper quality is still trash. They're putting out way too many books at way too high of a price, and the characters are poorly written and usually poorly drawn anymore. So it's a perfect storm of garbage, and the executives refuse to do anything about it. Marvel is spiraling the drain, whether anyone wants to admit it or not. But it could go on for a long time. They got that sweet, sweet Disney money.
Jack, I couldn't agree more. That's the thing people are talking about. Is Marvel going to fail? And it's like, well, we talked about that before with Jim Healis on and so forth. No, they're never going to fail. People are like, oh, it's going to collapse. You guys are living in a fantasy. They've got the endless depth of Disney's pockets backing them up. DC has the endless pockets of Warner Brothers backing them up. They will suffer restructuring, perhaps management changes, but the idea that they're going to have to shutter the doors, no, that's not going to happen. IDW, on the other hand, that's a company that could actually fail.
Yeah, I do.
Fail to the point of being purchased or having to farm out all of their licenses or sell off, subcontract their licenses. Anyway, yeah, Marvel's never going to fail in that regard. I think people are kind of not losing the plot that way.
I do think that they can. And I do think that what can happen, what is more likely to happen, would be that if Marvel or DC were to fail, that they would instead do exactly what all of the indie writers want to do with their books. They'll option it to smaller publishers to publish a Batman book or a Spider-Man book. We've already seen that happen.
Yeah. I think with Marvel, that's the most likely scenario, is they're going to license out their properties to other companies to publish.
And see, I don't see that happening with DC. I see DC actually maybe not learning from these mistakes, but at the very least continuing on with their status quo, which is for every go broke book that they put out another book that, normie readers are going to say, well, that's kind of fun, and pick up and read.
Well, DC's already cut back a couple titles, laid off some staff, and they're talking about cutting more titles.
Mm-hmm.
So they're actually making an effort to kind of control the loss, staunch the bleeding, and they've even kind of blamed Marvel in a roundabout way. If you read the article, I think it was on CBR about that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Marvel's turning off people to comics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which this conversation kind of goes into the story that I wanted to cover here next, because it relates directly to that South by Southwest panel that Quesada and CB Cebulski are going to be on. For those of you who don't know, Joe Quesada is an artist and has then became a really powerful executive and chief creative officer at Marvel. And CB Cebulski is the editor-in-chief at Marvel. And they are going on to a panel at South by Southwest, which is a well-known and has the reputation of being a very liberal convention. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
a pretty mild understatement.
Okay. I just didn't want to overstate it. So, okay. It has the reputation of being quite liberal, possibly progressively liberal. It's so what are they doing there? They're going to be talking about the how much Marvel Comics, not Marvel Studios, who produces the MCU films or anything else, but Marvel Comics, the paper and digital comics company, wing of the company, has done in terms of producing things that have gone on to make a lot of money, meaning the MCU films, the video games, clothing, all of the things that actually make money for Disney, with regards to these various characters and the intellectual property of them. And that strikes me as sad. And it immediately started the rumors about Marvel folding up, or excuse me, Disney folding up Marvel, that you guys are going to a very welcoming audience to explain why you're actually responsible for all of the money that Disney makes from these characters. Because in the comic books, we created them. We're the ones who generate all of the interest. And it's like, not in the past, 15 years at least?
Yeah.
I would say 19 years.
I mean, all of the movies are not based off of the storylines that are currently running in Marvel, Joe and CB. You guys have to know that.
They are. I mean, you know, the reason, well, one of the major reasons that pissed me off about seeing Captain America Civil War as being one of the stories that they were putting out in the MCU.
Yeah.
Captain America has been around since the 40s.
Yeah.
Why go to Civil War?
Well, I mean, you know the differences between the core idea, all of the characters start fighting each other because they take opposite sides on some crucial issue. Yeah, that's generally what's going on. But the way Civil War played out in the comics has very little to do with the way it played out in the film.
I'm just saying, man, like even just using the name is enough to evoke, you know, comparisons to the comic.
Fair enough.
And it just, again, it's like, you know, he's been around since the 40s. That means, God, what, 70 something years worth of stories written about Captain America, and you choose Civil War in the past decade?
Yeah. You know, before they revealed the title as Civil War, they called it Serpent Society. That would have been a much better story, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there's, I don't know, this whole thing is just kind of a joke. Like I said on Monkey in the Morning when me and Polly were on there, this is really going to a softball phantom audience, because they're going to South by Southwest because that's where a lot of progressive people are. It's in Austin, Texas, which is an extremely progressive town. I've got friends that live there, and they're like, yeah, there's hippies everywhere. They're going there to try and market to those people, the people that don't buy comics.
Right.
Because it's their ideal audience. That's why I think they're going there. And I think that it was almost wishful thinking for the people that wrote the article to say that they're talking about folding up Marvel. No, I think they're going there because they think those people will buy comic books, because they'll be like, look how progressive we've become.
And again, trying to realize that phantom audience, trying to make it actual. We believe that if we show LGBTQ plus POC representation and endlessly virtue signal about these things, it won't be those, those annoying white males who are buying comic books largely, as all of our analysis has shown us that this is our main demographic that's purchasing our product, right? We want other people purchase this product. So what we have to do is representation. And if we build it, they will come. It's kind of that Field of Dreams thinking. For those of you who don't know, Kevin Costner film, if you build it, they will get, never mind. So Jack's old, he knows. Jack,
yeah,
Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner, if you build it, they will come. You got that reference, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know that movie?
I don't know. It was before my time. Anyway.
So young.
Let's see what Joe Quesada's response to this is. And of course it's in CBR, ultimate garbage tier shill. Fuck. An upcoming Marvel Comics panel this year at South by Southwest titled quote, Marvel, from comics to screens. We're important. Don't fire us, please. Like, we can't show on a profit loss page why we're worth keeping around in our present form. I believe they're absolutely worth keeping around. I believe just management, Salman Amanat, looking at you, Joe Quesada, looking at you, are fucking the thing up royally. I think it's a management thing. I think it's an editorial thing, and the decisions that come top down in terms of what we're going to spend our time and energy doing. And if you look at a bottom line spreadsheet, guess what? They are dipping in sales. The local comic book shops are closing. The entire Diamond Cartel distribution center model isn't working out like it used to. And so they're going to a soft room, a friendly audience, to argue why they're still important. Am I really reading that wrong? Because that's what I see happening.
Yeah, no, that's what I get.
No, I think you're right. Plus, they want the people at this place to buy their books because that's the audience they want to target. That's the lifestyle brand people, the hipsters and the cool kids that they think will read this trash and enjoy it.
Yeah. Evolved Potato says, I'm 18 and most people my age know what Field of Dreams is. All right, I stand corrected. I'm a big baseball fan and I love baseball movies. And so you got Field of Dreams and you got Bull Durham. I assume that people haven't seen these films and that I'm like some kind of person who's gone back and watched baseball films because I love baseball. Anyway, so wrong. It's fine. It's fine.
I'll say I'm not really big on Kevin Costner, but James Earl Jones is in that movie, so fuck yeah.
Oh, well, okay. And Jack Gunsky says I'm younger than Paulie and I consider Field of Dreams to be in my time. All right. All right. Zelthor has skewed my perspective on these things because I'll name some film that was out when he was like 10 and he's like, that was before my time. And I'm like, oh, I don't know.
I think Zelthor just doesn't watch any movies.
Yeah.
So, in chat if you watch movies.
Yeah, so yeah, he's in chat.
Yeah, I know he knows video games and anime stuff.
All right. So in any case, the what baseball? Shut up, Zelthor. You know what baseball is.
He's like, what I do? And you're like, shut up, Zelthor.
Well, Ryan Walters said, what's baseball?
It's like cricket.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought that was Zelthor that said that. I read it too fast. Excuse me. Sorry, Zelthor. That's fine. Okay. From Marvel, from comics to desperation to keep our jobs, is sparking rumors that Disney might be looking to close the comics publisher. However, former editor-in-chief Joe Quesada says that speculation is incorrect. Sharing an article from Bleeding Cool on Twitter, Joe Quesada wrote, "Must be a slow news day. Ladies and gents, I give you the dumbest comics conspiracy of the week. Sometimes a panel is just a panel." Sources for comicbook.com also verified the rumors were untrue. So let me see if I get this straight. People start talking about this. The rumors are swirling. Everybody that's a comics gator is talking about how badly the industry's doing. Everybody is going out of their way to publish supportive spin material in support of the comic books industry that is on your shill list of friends. And let's see, we identify comicbooks.com, CBR, and Bleeding Cool as three of the worst shill websites that we know of, right? We're always going to them for comedic material to see how they report on stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And who spins this to say, no, that's not what the panel at South by Southwest is about? Who are the three usual suspects here? Bleeding Cool, CBR, and comicbooks.com. Surprise. Fuck. In any case, it must be a slow news day, says Joe Quesada. The article from Bleeding Cool, which was subsequently picked up and shared by other outlets that are total shills like us, does make it clear that it's a theory Disney is looking to shut down Marvel Comics is only speculation. Yeah, they said it was speculation. They said it was rumor. What? That outlet's piece asked why Disney should, quote, continue to bother publishing comics at all, especially when they can make far more money mining the intellectual properties for other mediums. The article then goes on to speculate that the panel is actually about making a case for the continued publishing of comics as they, quote, provide the genetic material to make actual profits elsewhere. Marvel's press release... Marvel's press release describes the panel as follows. On Friday, March 8th, Marvel's editor-in-chief, C.B. Cebulski, and chief creative officer, Joe the Shill Quesada, will lead an interactive discussion about the history and landscape of Marvel Comics. Titled Marvel, From Comics to Actual Money, the hour-long panel will look at how some of Marvel's most iconic characters have been pimped out in more lucrative fields, and storylines have continued to the games, movies, and television series that people actually like, that are so renowned among popular culture. Everything starts with an idea, and Marvel Comics is the spark that lights the fire for people to actually make money. Nice.
That's a terrible way of putting that. Is that literally what Marvel's press had said?
No, I was putting on quiz. Jesus Christ, I was
I can't really read the article too well. It's really too small on the screen share.
Fine. It wasn't clear that I was kidding.
No. Like if the press release were actually saying this is actually stuff that makes money. Well, okay, no, wait. Right here it says, especially when they can make far more money mining the intellectual property from other mediums.
Yeah, I mean, it does say that. Okay, admittedly, it is in lighter gray, which they often do to.
Yeah.
No, fair enough. It's hard to read, but man, I got to work on my sarcastic voice. Yeah, I was peppering that with all kinds of bullshit for fun. Shit.
No, but see, that's the thing, Polly, is that with that line specifically, especially you're quoting, especially when they can make far more money mining the intellectual properties for other mediums.
Right. Yeah. No, that part is literally what it says. Yeah.
But that they're just admitting that they're keeping the comic books around, knowing that they're failing.
Yeah.
Well, and saying
you're not wrong.
The movies are enough to make up for that because the people that go to see the movies are suckers.
Well, yeah, but see, you're misreading the word medium there. They're talking about people that talk to the dead. All the good storylines are in the distant past.
Yeah, true.
And I think it says something that you actually thought I was being serious, because why not? Like, this is the world we live in, Quiz.
Yeah, well, it's Marvel, man. It's Marvel. I'm now completely confident that they are self-aware, that they are absolutely like killing themselves.
Yeah, they're like, garbage.
They're taking the fistful of pills and saying, "Oh yeah, this nap is going to be great."
Yeah.
Yeah. Good analogy.
I just think it says so much about the symbiotic relationship, bidirectional parasitical relationship between comics pros who have no interest in going after legitimate audiences that are there, that are willing to purchase your products, instead of chasing phantom audiences, which they've been doing. Cebulski and Quesada, looking at you, and the journalists who support their ideological view that, yeah, POC LGBT plus communities. And it's not even that you don't, anybody who's an actual purchaser of comics doesn't want gay superheroes, doesn't want gay characters, doesn't want black characters, Asian characters. That's got nothing to do with it. It's the painfully on the nose way you're doing it, the forced diversity for diversity's sake, and the replacement theory that they're going about it.
It's like I said before, it's the lecture.
Yes.
No one cared that oh shit, what was his name? North Star? No.
Yeah.
Was it North Star? Yeah. No one cared that North Star was gay. No one said anything about that being ham-fisted or make your jokes. Ham-fisted or any of that kind of stuff for making North Star gay. No one cared. Okay? Making Iceman gay is a completely different sort of story, because it's not just the fact that he's gay, it's the fact of how you made him gay, and the reason for it is purely ideological, and it's used as a bludgeon and a lecture.
Well, you're talking about people that don't understand nuance, storytelling, or subtlety. They refuse to even grasp those as concepts, I think.
I think you guys are wrong. I mean, after all, look at the white fanboy reaction to X-Men. I mean, here, look, you've got a team that's got Shadowcat's Jewish, Wolverine's Canadian, Colossus is Russian. Aurora is black and worshipped in an African village as a goddess. So, that connection as well. The list goes on, and nobody bought those comics. I mean, when you have this kind of diversity in comics, the white racists just won't buy it.
Yeah,
It's true.
Especially when Chris Claremont wrote it, no one bought those comics. What are you talking about?
I mean, good stories with diverse characters, they're going to fail as soon as anybody who's not a white male is presented. They're not going to do well.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, being sarcastic, you fuckers should take a look at diversity and when it did sell.
Well, Claremont was a white guy writing a black woman. I mean, is that even possible?
It's not woke, I can tell you that much. I mean, if you've got a black character, it better be written by a black person or it's racist. I guess. Fucking hell.
The lack of intersectionality in the 80s is horrifying. Oh my God.
Like, here's an idea. If you want to write black characters, just don't hire race hustlers to write them. Is that so much to ask?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hire old Jewish people.
I mean,
apparently it worked for Stan Lee and Jack Kirby.
Right?
Yeah. Who strangely didn't feel the need to make every character Jewish. Go figure.
Yeah, right? Well, they can only write what they know, right? They didn't create Black Panther or anything. No.
Enough with this story. I mean, this is it must be a slow news day. Don't look at this burning building that is the former empire that used to be Marvel Comics. Don't look, anybody.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain that's currently strapping the noose to the ceiling.
And it's not like it happens once or twice over at CBR. That's how you get stuff like this. Comic sales rise over 500,000 in January despite major Marvel fluctuations. This is, we're doing fine, everything's fine, don't look here. Why is January so much better than every other month? Oh, hold on, let me actually allow. You guys should be using no script if you aren't. This article is meant to cover a whole bunch of butts in terms of what's going on with comics, why are the sales as crappy as they are, et cetera, et cetera. The premier publishers accounted for 97.23 of the units of total sale. Like, this goes into a mathematical argument throughout this whole article that things are fine. I mean, after all, look at all the charts. There's so many charts and graphs proving everything is fine. It's all fine.
Look at this graph.
No, seriously, look at all the fucking graphs. What the fuck are you?
Let's cue up Chad Kroger. Look at this graph.
And I've read through this, and other comic skaters and different people, even Skyver did a stream on it. And I don't think he even got, or not a stream, he did a standalone video on it talking about this article because of how upset it got him. And I don't blame him. Why did January result in an increase in $500,000 in sales? First of all, it wasn't Marvel and Marvel alone that was responsible for that. And the amount of items, first of all, it's not sales, it's shipments that they're accounting for largely in it, if you read through the article. And a lot of the comics that are selling are number ones, and Detective Comics 1000 is coming out. And what is the comic that has 23 variants right now?
I have no idea.
It's like number 8 or 14 of some issue. It's actually got 20.
Uncanny X-Men? The $8 issue?
Is it? It's got the point. It's got 23 variant covers, y'all. 23 variant covers.
Yeah, I think that's that X-Men issue because it was $8.
And Jesus. And when it's $8 and you do these games with the local comic book shops, the retailers, where if you want the one variant, you have to buy 10 or 20 or whatever of the normal print issue of it. You're able to overship or mass ship a whole bunch of stuff. January is not indicative, nor is it emblematic of the kind of sales that they generally do. But let's put this out. Don't pay attention to the burning building because there's one room in the building that isn't burning. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, back in like the mid 90s, like 93, 94, one book would be selling 100,000 copies.
Yeah.
These numbers are a joke. It's insulting because they're only comparing to the last couple of years. They're not looking historically when
Like imagine Detective Comics only shipping 22,000 copies. And then by the time it goes through its second and third print, it's shipped 50 or 60,000. Detective Comics, that's one of the tentpole mainstays of the comic book industry. That's Batman's premier comic. And now it's shipping what? A tenth of what it was 15 years ago?
Yeah.
We're not happy at this, people. We are watching a genre we love slowly collapse in on itself because of very poor managerial decisions. Even if and I think it is important to take the speculator boom and the hype boom that there was around comics and then it fell in on itself. You can't expect to replicate boom numbers. Fair enough. But these are not adjusted numbers after the boom. These are collapsing numbers.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing it to themselves because they're producing a low quality product for an exorbitant amount of money.
Yeah.
I want to buy Marvel Comics. They're just not producing anything that's worth the money.
Yeah. Okay, I want to cover a couple of stories really quick. Look, there's this comic. It's called Jesus Freak. It's fucking stupid. This is the kind of crap that goes on at Image, which is one of the... Image is actually a pretty big producer. I remember when they were the big deal back in the day. They were a legitimate competitor to Marvel and DC, to the big two. And now they become, Jesus Christ, your virtue signalers extraordinaire. So they produce a comic called Jesus Freak, where Jesus is a kung fu guy. And here's Jesus Christ running around beating up Roman soldiers, and then he ends up fighting a giant lizard guy. What the fuck are you doing, Image? What is this?
This is 90s edge, man. Back in the 90s, when like Sandman came out, this would have been super duper edgy. Now it's just lazy.
Like, look, I don't know, man. I'd be willing to read this.
Yeah, but you're reading it for irony. You're not like, they legitimately think this is going to be good. This is not Sharknado. We're going to make a movie so bad that it's obviously meant to be bad. We're intentionally making a Z-grade film, and then people are going to buy it and laugh at it for that. No, they created this with, this is Tommy Wiseau's The Room.
Yeah, they legitimately think this is going to be
good. And it's like, you have a giant lizard fighting Kung Fu Jesus. You thought it was going to be good? The fuck is wrong with you?
It's like there's a film called Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And at least that's kind of amusing because it was done a few years back. This is like try hard edgy. Like, yeah, it's a funny concept on its face, but it's been done before. This type of thing has been done before. It's not innovative. It's not new. It's just kind of silly. And yeah, you'd buy it out of the 50-cent box just to laugh at it and be like, all right, it's an amusing concept for 10 seconds, but I'm not 14 anymore.
Jack Gunsky said, supposed to be mocking satire, not camp. That's a good observation. Yeah.
Yeah. It just strikes me as a bunch of old man boomer ideas, regardless of who they're coming from. It's like an idea that's like 15 or 20 years out of date.
Yeah, they're quantum locked in the 90s, in the edgy 90s. Yeah.
Yep. This is somebody in their 40s that hasn't been paying attention to what's been going on. So they're trapped in that like pseudo punk mentality of the 90s. And they think they're being like on the cutting edge, like, oh, the kids will love it. And it's your dad writing comic books.
And the people that think they're being edgy and great today are your Andy Corey types.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take an entire DC imprint and make them a bunch of progressive comics. Yep. And look what happened to it collapsed in on itself in 5 or 6 months. Your boy Zach, when he was talking about this in his video, it was so funny. It's almost a hold my beer moment. It's like, Marvel, you're collapsing in on yourself. Hold my beer.
Yeah. Well, I think DC's at least kind of seen where they're at with it, and they're not doing real well. So they've been dialing it down a little bit by canceling some of these quasi-edgy books.
Yeah, or finding convenient reasons to do so, or mercifully, they seem to find their own reason to do so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or
Well,
one
you know,
finds them, like with the alleged rapist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't even bother with that Second Coming one because they've seen the numbers on Hex Wives and Goddess Mode and some of these others. They've seen where they're at with it. And they're like, these are all miniseries now.
Pass. Yeah.
All right. Well, gentlemen, we've avoided it long enough. Captain Marvel. Let's do it. So here we are. We're in the week of releasing Captain Marvel, and the numbers are starting to come out, and the reviews are starting to come out. Jesus Christ. They tried hard. I will give them credit. They tried hard to spin Captain Marvel as being the greatest film that's going to come out. They promoted the fuck out of it. They spent more on promotion than they did on the production budget for the film. They activated every media asset they could. And still, Brie Larson's wooden face, even when trying to look Maverick, Top Gun, awesome, still can't muster much emotion. Fucking amazing. The reviews are starting to come back now, and the scores are not good. Let's see what Bounding Into Comics has to say about the Rotten Tomatoes score. Now, Rotten Tomatoes actually restructured its entire website. They claim it was their own decision. My guess, and it is just a guess, is that they didn't. A lot of people are speculating similarly that they had the option to click. People had the option, rather, to click previously whether or not they wanted to see it. And what was its low point? I think it reached 26% of people wanted to see this film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a really low score for what's supposed to be a major Marvel moneymaker blockbuster. Alt-right trolls showed up and bombed the review section. And people were saying, why can't you wait until the movie comes out before you offer a review? Who was offering a review? All they were doing was clicking on whether or not they wanted to see it.
Yeah. And
the response is, well, people were bombing on it. It's no good. In any case, they restructured their website. The score is released and it's at 89%. The critics' consensus is that it's packed with action, humor, and visual thrills. Captain Marvel introduces the MCU's latest hero in an origin story that makes effective uses of the franchise's signature formula. Let's see how well that ages.
Yeah, right.
Here's what some of the reviews marked fresh are saying. David Sims of The Atlantic writes, more of a solid building block for future endeavors than a must-see solo adventure. And Cohen of Refinery 29 has high praise. Larson carries a difficult role with a grin. Oh my God, she actually smiles. And a swagger that matches Tom Cruise's in Top Gun. You know what? I didn't know you were going to say this, but no, that does not match Maverick's grin in Top Gun. She barely looks like she's awake.
Swagger. It sounds like she's got limp or something.
Yeah. And by the way, these are all from the positive review that gives it a high tomato meter score. John Campanella states, an important Marvel movie that connects a lot of dots the MCU has generated over 20 plus films. Not one of the top tier MCU films, but a solid and entertaining one nonetheless. We got this covered, writes, Captain Marvel's recorded mixtape of familiar MCU beats that sets Carol Danvers up for success. But this, as a period standalone, struggles to be anything we haven't seen from superhero cinema. Dan Laurie at CNN writes, Captain Marvel ultimately feels more obligatory than inspired. A movie that basically gets the job done and little more. Oof.
That's rough.
Yeah. Beyond the Trailer states, when she's not trying and failing to do a Robert Downey Jr. impression, Brie Larson's Captain Marvel is a hero who doesn't hesitate, which is pretty darn cool. The Jam Report states, with an endearing heart that's impossible to resist and a glorious leading lady steering the ship, Captain Marvel is an imperfect but supremely entertaining blast.
Oh, okay, hang on. Whenever somebody says they have a lot of heart, it's been my experience they're usually talking about the mentally deficient people. Like, oh, he wears a helmet and he eats paste, but he's got a lot of heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
He can't tie his own shoe. but
he's got a really big heart. He's got really low blood pressure. Don't fuck with him.
yeah.
This is let's look at some of the rotten reviews they say in this Bounding article, and these are some of the reviews again from Rotten Tomatoes that have been coalesced on Rotten Tomatoes. The Hollywood Reporter, ultra tier, by the way, ultra garbage tier website. This picture is not dull, exactly, just mundane, marked by unimaginative plotting, cut-rate villains, and a bland visual style, and a lack of elan in every department. Time Out writes, scenes between Fury and Larson's Carol Danvers rediscovering humanity are oddly inert. The film's much vaunted feminism, promised in months of run-up in advertising and interviews, gets a short shrift. Jesus Christ. Lindsay Blair from this...
Did they want more feminism in this movie?
Yeah. Well, yes, they did, because it got like a whole bunch of press. Well, you know what? A large part of that was Brie Larson not knowing when to shut the fuck up, that she was pissing off the major demographic for these films, at least in the American market. Anyway, the New York Post writes, the character, even when kicking ass, is a total bore. The Associated Press writes, the first female-led Marvel MCU film deserved more. Yeah, these are like some of the kinder things that they're sampling here, honestly, like even though some of them sound quite vicious. Let's go over to Metacritic. It's funny that they give it a 65. 65. Wait a minute. Rotten Tomatoes gave it an 89. What the fuck's going on? It's almost like Rotten Tomatoes is kind of being pushed by people they're in bed with to do certain things, like restructure their entire website. Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
I mean, Disney, that
they have
small 5-man operation working out of someone's garage, they have no influence.
They have no pull, Polly. They've got absolutely no. They're sticking it to the man at Rotten Tomatoes, and Kwanzaa is there writing the book the whole way.
It blows my mind that they would be that different from 89 to 65. It makes you think that Metacritic might be a little bit more honest in the way they're because they're both meta websites that are compiling scores from a number of different sources. And the idea is that biases one way or another will average themselves out when you correlate data in this way. Okay, somebody's method is fucked up here. Or possibly both your methods are fucked up, because you have means by which you're tabulating a final score where one is 89, the other one is 65. Come the fuck on. Something's fucked up. And I'm looking at you, Rotten Tomatoes, is the problem. Just saying. I don't know what more can be said about. Oh, you know what happened earlier today? You know Midnight's Edge on YouTube?
No.
Oh, Quiz, you got to get on board. You'd love it. Midnight's Edge is a great YouTube channel where they do excellent research into backgrounds. They talk a lot of behind the scenes pre-production and post-production stuff. A lot of great material on understanding how Star Trek got so fucked up in terms of the intellectual property being split up amongst so many owners and stuff like that. Lots of great Marvel movie stuff and Zack Snyder material. They're like 80-90% effective in their predictions of what's going on, and they very clearly state what's rumor and speculation and what's not. Basically the exact opposite of garbage tier bullshit. Yeah, Midnight's Edge, you've never checked it out. Anyway, one of the guys got a early screening pass to go see Captain Marvel, which he went and saw this morning, and he was going to do his spoiler-free review of it, and in a live stream. I was watching it. It had 2,100 people watching when I was watching it. Now, this is in the middle of the day, y'all. But this is going on when people are off at like jobs and shit. I've had the past 3 days off, and I've been totally enjoying it because, well, I still get paid, but a contract got screwed up. It's awesome. Anyway, that's why I was home today watching it. It got copyright struck in the middle of it.
Not surprised.
The stream got shut down for copyright material. This is what I was watching. What you see going on right now. It was avatars glowing as different people talked. And one guy critically reviewing in a fair way, but being very honest about why the film is lackluster overall. And they got copy struck? Really?
Yeah, it'll get overturned later, but the important thing is to shut them up during opening weekend. See,
you see what I'm saying?
They'll retract it later. That's what a lot of these big companies are doing that now because they can abuse the system, and YouTube's not going to punish them.
It was, oh, well, that was our mistake. Sorry, we'll remove our copyright strike now. Yeah, the whole point is that Midnight's Edge was striking while the iron was hot because he had just seen the movie. He's doing a spoiler-free review, and in 3 or 4 days after it had opened, he would give his spoiler review. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't revealing anything about the film or anything like that.
Doesn't matter. You're critical in any way. They're going to step down on you like the bug you are.
Doesn't it absolutely seem that way?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what corporations been doing for years now. I mean, look at Twitter. You get out of line.
Like they did to Crowder on Oscar night. Yeah. What copyright was he violating? Well, it wasn't. It's that his stream making fun of the Oscars had more viewers than ABC's live stream of the Oscars. So they copy struck him.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
No, you cannot deviate from the accepted norm, and that's just the way it is. If you don't like it, well, get off the internet, you incel. They'll Alex Jones you, and you'll be gone forever.
There just seems to be an angle that's easily interpretable or inferable coming off of this. You will like it.
Yeah, you have to know what's best for you. And they know the best. It's a lifestyle brand.
One of the things that happened with Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, is that nobody expected it to be a very successful film, and it turned out to be an extremely successful film. How? A lot of word of mouth. It was like, dude, you should see that. That movie's so fun, and the music is great, and it's got kind of like this 80s, 90s thing because of the music going on, and it's not really your usual super. People were saying these things about it because it was those things, and it became extremely successful. It's not one of my favorite Marvel movies, but so what? It spread by word of mouth. So if you want to spread something to make it popular by word of mouth, feel free. If you want to be critical about something by word of mouth, hey, shut up. You're going to like this film.
Yeah, right.
Do you see what I mean? I don't know. I find that really annoying. It's another Marvel Disney film. Guardians of the Galaxy did quite well because of word of mouth. And now you're all worried about word of mouth. Maybe it's because your movie sucks.
Yeah, maybe because they realized that they fucked up their promotion of it.
Well, at least Brie did.
Well, it's that they fucked up their promotion of it because they let her talk.
Samuel L. Jackson, Lashana Lynch, and Gemma Chan respond to the Captain Marvel Rotten Tomatoes controversy. I just want to point something out real quick. It's kind of inconsequential, but Samuel L. Jackson's hairpiece here looks really, really fake. I mean, seriously, come on, take a look at that.
Yeah.
That's obviously something that's glued to this man's head.
It's your helmet head.
Yeah. Like you're Disney. You couldn't afford a better hairpiece for this guy than that.
I'd be willing to bet that it's mostly a contrast to the makeup he's wearing because they had to de-age him so much. I mean, seriously, the guy's like 60 by now.
You know what? That's a really good point. I didn't think about it. It is a period film. They do need to make him look younger, and he does look quite old. So, yeah, that's probably what's good. And they might have employed some CGI de-aging techniques, and that's what makes his hairpiece look so obviously fake. I mean, that's a good point.
He just needs to get in contact with Xenu so that he can get that aging serum or whatever, you know? I mean, he is a Scientologist, so...
So here's the thing. A number of cast members of Captain Marvel, including Ashana Lynch, Samuel L. Jackson, and Gemma Chan, and the co-director Ryan Fleck recently addressed the Captain Marvel's Rotten Tomatoes controversy. As we've pointed out, the idea of trolls review bombing Captain Marvel on Rotten Tomatoes is categorically false. And categorically, by the way, doesn't just mean really. In this case, yeah, it was a categorical error. If you're saying you're bombing reviews and people have no way of writing reviews, it couldn't possibly be review bombing. You've made a category error.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
in fact,
well, people are simply indicating whether or not they wanted to see the movie, and many fans were indicating they were not interested in seeing the film whatsoever. Nevertheless, following the negative feedback, Rotten Tomatoes completely redesigned their website, removing the audience interest score and preventing people from commenting on the film before it's released. In an interview with Bad Taste, Lashana Lynch, co-director Ryan Fleck, and Samuel L. Jackson addressed the fan response to the film's marketing and promotion. And there they all are, shelling away. Lashana Lynch, who portrays Maria Rambeau stated, I can't really understand it all. This is great, her response to this. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, is kind of what she's saying. I can't really understand it all. And because of that, everything else, I don't pay attention to it. I don't read it. I don't watch anything. I don't pay attention to it, especially when I'm releasing a movie I'm very, very proud of. You have no idea what's going on, do you? You're clueless. That's neither here nor there. It's neither good nor bad. It's just, do you realize there's a hell of a lot of bad press floating around about this movie? No, you didn't, did you? It makes you wonder if Brie Larson's even aware of how many people she's pissed off.
I don't think she cares.
Because fuck you, we're going to make you like it by promoting the shit out of it, and you have to like it, otherwise you're a sexist, racist bigot.
Yeah, and she doesn't care what some evil whitey has to say. Apparently
not. I took to Twitter with this, not that anybody even reads my tweets, but whatever. I did take to Twitter with this comment that Samuel L. Jackson made here, because I thought it was priceless how general he was being. Get this. Samuel L. Jackson, who plays Nick Fury, took this a step further. He hinted at silencing people's opinion and stated even giving them a platform to voice their opinion is, quote, part of the problem. I wouldn't go so far as to say he hinted at silencing people's opinions. He just offers his take on the situation. And get what he says. The mere fact that you give people a voice or a platform to people who normally don't have a platform is part of the problem.
Oh, fuck you!
No, hold on. Get this, Quiz. You're gonna love this. You could have an opinion that you don't have to really have to be. You don't have to really have to be responsible for, because no one's going to see you. Nobody's going to challenge you on it. And if you want to bring somebody down or just ruin someone's day, you can say everything. Everybody doesn't want to be uplifting, and that's pretty much what the problem is.
Get fucked, Samuel L. Jackson. You think that just because you have a microphone, you have more of a voice than anyone else. Well, guess what, bitch? Now that we have the internet and everyone has a voice, no one can value yours. Shut the fuck up. And to take a quote from a book that you read for Audible, go the fuck to sleep.
Well,
how do you really feel, Quiz?
Yeah. It's like,
I hate when celebrities flaunt this sort of way that they can sit there and say, I have a voice and you don't. Go fuck yourself. I hate it so much. Oh my God. I have nothing but contempt for celebrities, especially ones that say something like that. Go fuck yourself, Samuel L. Jackson. You worthless piece of shit. Go and get your fucking audit and get your fucking body thetans in check. Fuck you.
Oh, shit. Okay, well, this just wasn't looking to blow arteries. Quiz, be cool. Be cool. I thought you'd have a laugh at it. But anyway. What I find funny about this is my immediate response to this is like, Jackson, you were too general here. Don't you realize you just undermined all of social media, you moron? The guy is a huge supporter of #resist. The guy is a huge supporter of #MeToo. The fuck is wrong with you? The fact that you've given a voice or a platform to people who normally don't have a platform is part of the problem. #resist is entirely about malcontents who are angry and claiming that because the candidate that they wanted to win didn't win, let's take to social media and bitch and lie and make up bullshit and be like Sam Jackson and broadcast as far and wide as we possibly can about how this guy is a bigot, racist, sexist, homophobe, Islamophobe, xenophobe who hates the poor and can't wait to start death camps and every other bullshit rumor that floats around on social media. What the fuck are you talking about? The only reason the people that like everything that you say that's bad about Donald Trump and retweet it and so on is because these people that you claim that shouldn't have a platform now have a platform, but you don't like them having it when they don't agree with you or don't like your shitty little feminist film. Talk about people who shouldn't have a platform to do things. Let's talk about Brie Larson shooting her fucking mouth off and ruining the promotion for the film that you and your co-stars are so very proud of. The fuck, man?
I'm not that angry yet, so keep going.
Well,
I don't think you can match our anger here.
No, I don't think you can.
Well, let's
I'm already this black-pilled. You guys are just working up to catching up with me.
Well, you know what pisses me off about Samuel Jackson? It's when you read through his tweets, it's like it's so boomer. It's so old man. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, he is a boomer and he is an old man. I get it. But like the guy radiates it. Like it's this like I don't know. He's just so hashtag resist about things. When what's her name was at the oh shit, I'm so bad with names today, guys. Sorry. But the representative from oh fuck, I can't remember the state she's from right now. Fuck, now I sound like a moron. Anyway, the whole point is that she gained a bunch of attention by saying we're going to indict that motherfucker, referring to Trump, at a receptive audience where everybody applauded for her. And Samuel Jackson takes to Twitter in one of his usual hot takes saying, and of course, Samuel Jackson's famous for using the word motherfucker. So it's the motherfucking problem wasn't that she said that motherfucker was a motherfucker. The motherfucking problem is that we have to call that motherfucker the motherfucking president.
Mm-hmm.
Really, Sam? Really?
Motherfucking orange man bad.
And this is what I'm saying. It's like he got liked and he got retweeted, full of people that never should have had a platform, according to your thinking, Samuel L. Jackson. And what platform do these people really have? We're talking about clicking a button that says, I don't want to see the film, and that's what you're complaining about. So-called review bombing. Could it possibly be that Brie Larson just really needs to learn that everybody doesn't want to hear her rich, entitled white girl complaints about how she's oppressed?
Yeah.
And as if I'm going to focus in on white people alone, it's the shielding that people use to moralize. Because Jamal Igle and Boxing Day Johnson, I'm looking at you too. Both of you guys were raised upper middle class. Both of you went to college. Both of you are educated. You have never been poor or broke in your life. And both of you talk like you're ghetto superstars. You fucking frauds. If anything, you are promoting ugly stereotypes of black folk. Yeah. If anything. But it's all about virtue signaling and being able to say you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're a sexist. Again, part of this thing. These are people who shouldn't have a platform, but they have it because social media. Except Samuel L. Jackson doesn't like it when it's people who don't agree with him. When it's people who agree with him, by all means, like and retweet. These are the people speaking now.
Yeah. No. That's another Hollywoodism that probably is better applied. These are his people speaking. They're my people speaking.
And you know what? I don't entirely disagree with his general premise. And Monkey and I have kind of gotten into this when we're talking about it. Like, I don't mean arguing. It's just we kind of have a general difference of opinion where it's like, Twitter's a sewer is what I'm repeating. And he's like, okay, yes, it is a sewer. But in that sewer, it gives people a voice who don't have it. And I kind of had to stop and think, how much of comicsgate, a movement that I think is important, a consumer response to some bullshit that I think is important, how much of it is based in social media? Oh my God, almost all of it.
Yeah.
So obviously I can't have that much of a problem, but I'm calling Twitter a sewer. And I've made the analogy a whole bunch of times. You know what the problem with Twitter is? Everybody has in their group that one smartass who thinks they know how the world works and condescendingly speaks to everybody about that president is so racist and this comic book really needs more representation. And everybody in the little group of friends will respond with, yeah. Unfortunately, now they can take to social media and find a bunch of other angry, bitter malcontents where they can stoke the fires of their own shoulder chip to make themselves more angry and go on a daily, if not hourly, axe grind over it.
Wait. Why are you singling out my people, the angry malcontents? We didn't.
I've read your Twitter. You are not an angry malcontent on the level of one of the Krasensteins, at least trying to capitalize off of it like the Krasensteins.
No, I have hobbies.
Here's the thing, and here's a good silver lining. So something to show that even though Polly and I do get angry and we yell and we tell people to go fuck themselves, I think that this is a way to bring it a little bit more positivity, right? Why do you think that these people gain the traction that they do? You know, the people that are angry malcontents that are just there to do nothing but tear down when they don't necessarily want there to be any sort of construction going on. They're just there
Right.
to tear down. I think it's because generally everyone else is a good person. They see these people, they see them whining as if they are in pain and say, we want to help. I just think that people need to be better about identifying the problem and to not give these people automatic empathy. They need to, or not even empathy, sympathy, really. Because there's nothing to be empathic with someone like Kwanzaa. I mean, he's a middle-class dude who's never struggled in his life, right? Mm-hmm. Other than him being, quote, other than him being black, what is there that he's really struggled with?
Well,
and
you know what?
That's going on the assumption that being black is a struggle.
I'm certain that the guy's had some N-bombs dropped on him in his life, and he's probably had some ugly stereotypes assumed of him in his life. Yeah, and you know what? I went to high school, and it was Central City, so there was I was a minority there. Yeah, I got called honky and cracker and all that thing all the time. You know what you don't want to do? Go on to fucking social media and nurse your own anger and chip on your shoulder and this is because there's an endemic system that's against me and let me capitalize on my anger. And that's how you turn into Richard Spencer. What the fuck?
Yeah. Well, I mean, even then, has no one grown up nowadays realizing that the world isn't fair? I mean, when has that notion died out? When is the notion that things are inherently going to be not fair?
Participation awards, man. It's all that like feel good self-esteem crap. They started doing that back in the 80s.
I know. I mean, I was definitely part of that, but at the same time, I sat there and said, when people were saying it's not fair, I always gave them the world isn't fair. Figure out a way to cope with it, and either get what you want done out of it, or just fucking suck it up and move on.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd go so far back as the participation trophies. I know that Ranting Monkey's in chat now, and I know that's one of his favorite arguments, that it goes that far back. I don't know. I think the networking between people that are looking to moralize and do a social power grab is a more explanatory argument to what's going on social media than anything else. Yeah, because if you were just the one lone idiot and people feel a sense of power in brigading, and now look at like the Vic Mignola situation and the stuff that's occurring around him, we can take this guy down, even though it's largely based off of rumors, and they hashtag me too the fuck out of him.
But because they got their level of confidence from all these like self-assurances, like, oh, you matter, you're a unique and individual snowflake, you get an award for showing up because you're so awesome. And that gives people the confidence to go out and think that their crappy, stupid opinion matters. I mean, I sit around and shout into the wind all the time. Doesn't mean my insane opinion matters. I mean, people think the earth is flat again. Yeah, that's insane, because nobody bothers to say, hey, your opinion is stupid.
Yeah.
And sometimes people's opinions are stupid.
I just realized how long we've been streaming. But then again, we also started very late.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, why don't we cut this to this article? Because I actually haven't read this one yet. I don't really know what it contains, and then move on to pitches. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I can't word tonight. I don't know what the story is. I used to be able to talk. Let's see. A new rumor indicates that a number of the members of the Avengers cast are not happy with the Captain Marvel actress, Brie Larson. Not only does the rumor indicate that certain actors are not happy, but Disney CEO Bob Iger is not happy with Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige about the direction of Captain Marvel. In fact, the future of Captain Marvel might actually be in doubt. The rumor comes from YouTuber FilmGob. Have you ever heard of FilmGob, guys? I haven't. No?
I've heard of him, but I haven't watched him.
Well,
that sounds like a sex act.
FilmGob?
FilmGob? Oh, yeah, she gave me a FilmGob, and yeah, I'll post the video later.
Well, this is a fast
gobbing my film.
Yeah.
Let's see what the basis of this is. FilmGob indicates his source indicates his source, who has connections within Marvel and Disney, told him that the number of the Avengers cast actors, quote, are unhappy with Brie Larson being the face of the MCU going forward. He says his source names one actress. However, he doesn't actually name the actress, but the video heavily implies it is actress Elizabeth Olsen, who plays Scarlet Witch, as the video zooms in on her as he discusses who is unhappy. Film Gob adds that the Captain Marvel movie actually, quote, proves the Avengers cast members correct that Brie Larson is not a right fit for this character for the franchise, and that she is going to be found out when the movie is released. Not only does this rumor indicate that a number of Avengers cast members are not happy, come on, you've been repeating that too much, but Disney CEO Bob Iger is not happy with Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige because of the direction of Captain Marvel. He even states there, quote, is no an uncertainty for Captain Marvel's future in the MCU? There is no an uncertainty? Okay. Film God points to a tweet from Bob Iger that he would eventually delete that appears to be mocking Captain Marvel and the idea that Disney plans to put out the character at the front of their brand. Iger would write, "Fasten your seatbelts for a wild ride, hashtag Captain Marvel." He would add, "I think we should build Captain Marvel Land and 50 Captain Marvel attractions, plus Captain Marvel cruise ships, hotels, restaurants, and parades." Okay, that sounds a little sarcastic.
A little, yeah.
I think they should make Captain Marvel fireworks. It's a big flash and then it's over.
It writes across the sky, "Fuck white guys," and then rapidly disappears. Cosmic Book News Matt McGloin thinks that there could be something to this rumor, writing, quote, "Certainly Bob Iger doesn't want another Star Wars The Last Jedi on Disney's hands, which caused the fans to stop supporting Star Wars, leading to Han Solo failing at the box office." Yeah, I don't think they're idiots. I think a lot of the executives, not including Kathleen Kennedy, realized what was going on and rapidly changed directions. But we'll have to wait to see. An alleged Avengers Endgame plot spoiler also points to Marvel and Disney's uneasiness with Captain Marvel. Oh God, the Reddit leak. I love this story. My fingers are crossed that this is true. It's hopeful, wishful thinking, but God, let it be true. Reddit user I Am Leaking states, quote, "The Russo brothers and McFeely Marcus didn't want to include Captain Marvel at all on Infinity War and on Endgame. They felt the story deserved to end with the original characters, but Disney and Marvel Studios desperately wanted to introduce Carl Manvers on Avengers Infinity War. The idea was to later give her her own origin movie, boosted up by the Avengers." I Am Leaking adds, "They excluded Captain Marvel from the Infinity War, but had to include the character on Endgame. Just to shut off this matter, the Captain Marvel rant we are seeing today was expected by Disney. Their social media numbers projecting the Captain Marvel movie to face challenges, and they ordered from everyone to be involved to prepare for 2 cuts. One with the original Captain Marvel plan, another cutting down the character's participation in case the Captain Marvel movie flops." This is a fascinating idea of 2 cuts being done. Movies have been recut before, after the fact, dual endings, depending on how something works out. It's not the first time that this would have been done. It's not impossible. They did a vast number of Endgame reshoots, none of which Brie Larson was asked back for. It
wouldn't surprise me if they reshot like the ending so that not only to confuse people that might spread rumors that were on the crew, but also because they're a little worried about this. I bet some execs saw the dailies for Captain Marvel and they're like, "Ooh, this may not work." And they're like, "Hey, why don't you do some extra shoots?"
Yeah. And the idea of the rumor from I Am Leaking, and assuming that this information is true, because it's somebody on Reddit, and Reddit can absolutely be full of shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But assuming it's true, it sounds very reasonable. And there's a number of inside pieces of information that seem remarkably informed for a bullshit story. And what the story boils down to, and why I've got my fingers crossed, is it's basically Black Widow and Captain America are have the larger part of saving the day, and they take on a number of the things that Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, was doing in the original cut.
Yeah.
And they cut down Captain Marvel's participation in the whole film and don't have her saving the day at the end. Instead, it's Steve Rogers and Natasha Romanoff who do much more of the saving of the day at the end.
Well, I would think the actors probably complained because it's Mary Sue swoops in to save the day. It seems very MacGuffin and very lazy.
Yeah.
And they built up these characters for a decade, and she just shows up and takes all the glory. That doesn't seem quite reasonable.
Especially when it's like there's passing the torch on to, like, okay, so Chris Evans, Steve Rogers, is pretty much done with the role. And the way that he's going out is to play a background character who doesn't really do anything to save the day, even though he's one of the half of the universe that's still alive at the end of Infinity War.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So come Endgame, like you said, the Mary Sue, the Deus Ex Machina flies in, and it's in the form of feminist superhero to do all of the work. And it's like, so what's up with it sounds like the actors were pissed. Yeah. It's like, seriously, this is the way the last film I'm going to be in, and this is the way you end it as promotion for this new character who's going to be headlining everything. This is fucked.
Yeah, it would be very cheap and lazy to do it that way. Plus, I mean, a lot of people are leaving. Chris Hemsworth is supposed to be leaving. Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. are all, their contracts are all up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if their contracts are up, you want them to go out on top.
And guess who would be particularly pissed? When I was reading this and it was like a certain female actor was particularly upset, I could have sworn they were going to say Scarlett Johansson, because she is one of the original Avengers cast members. This paid a lot of money, is still under contract, and got a very lucrative contract to star in the Black Widow standalone film. And they're spending all of their time promoting Carl Manvers.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they're launching her as the new face of the MCU. I could see that pissing her off. And if it doesn't, she needs to rethink her situation. I
could understand if it was Elizabeth Olsen, because she's trying to build her career up. She's been in 2 of these movies now, because she was in Avengers Age of Ultron and Endgame. Oh, and she was in Civil War too. So there's 3 movies that she was in, and she's got some vested interest in this as well. And Scarlet Witch is incredibly powerful. So there's some actual character motivation there. They killed Vision, who she was getting romantic with. There's a lot there that you could build with her powers, and just to have Captain Marvel swoop in and beat the crap out of Thanos would be lazy. So yeah, I think there's a lot of resentment from probably the entire group of core actors.
We should wrap this up, but there is one last story that I wanted to touch on, because we were talking about it and laughing about it. The Mary Sue lies about negative Captain Marvel reviews only written by men. They asserted that in Rachel Leishman over at one of our favorite comedy websites, the Mary Sue, that only negative reviews are written by men, i.e. all women love this film, and it's only angry, awful penis possessors that don't like this film because they're a bunch of misogynists. And it said all of them. Batting into Comics puts this article out, and it's like, look, here are a number of the reviews that are written by women that are very critical of the film and don't like it. So what the fuck are you talking about? This is really bad spin to try and help a poor movie that's being reviewed poorly. Not by everybody, but by a lot of people. 5 or 8 over on Metacritic. I've already forgot. 65 over on Metacritic. And they want to spin it that it's just men who have the problem with it. And it's not. So Bounding Into Comics puts out this article, and they archive it brilliantly. Yeah, they already changed it over at the Mary Sue. Most of the bad reviews are coming from men. You got called out on your fucking lie, and the most you can do is to change the word most in there. I would have expected them to. I thought they were actually going to retool the article more dramatically and argue it's because the field is dominated by men. That's how many bad reviews are coming from men. If there were more women and there was more representation in the film critics field, we wouldn't have had this reaction. It's like I don't know. I think a man or a woman can spot a horrid movie when they see one. I think it's people's ideological bent and their shillness and determination to stay in Disney's good graces that has them giving a movie that's not good a good review. You know what I mean?
One of my absolute favorite things here, hold on while it loads, is the fact that the Mary Sue, when they put out their tweet about this very subject, got ratioed to fuck and back.
No shit. I didn't know that.
Oh,
that's
yeah. They put out all the negative reviews from Captain Marvel are from men, right? I'm waiting for it to load. In the meantime, though, while it's loading, the one thing I absolutely love, a reply from Angry Joe.
Oh, God.
Really?
Joe Vargas.
Yeah.
Are you guys above retracting or correcting obviously wrong and stupid articles? Stop this kind of sexist crap. Seriously. Isn't... Whoa. Hang on. God damn it. Motherfucking Twitter. Right in the middle of talking about it. Fuck. Oh, man. Yeah,
what the hell happened?
It immediately went to the Mary Sue's. I was looking at the tweet,
right,
and then it went to Mary Sue's actual Twitter account. My internet's running really slow because we've been streaming for a while. It always seems to do that. Like if we've been streaming for a long time, it slows down on me. There we go.
Yeah, mine does that too.
Seriously, isn't your website supposed to be against sexism? Make geekdom, or quote, make geekdom safe and open for everyone, or are clicks more important now? At Rachel Leishman. So the ratio that I was talking about, yeah, their thing. All the negative reviews from Captain Marvel are from men. 648 likes, 171 retweets. 2.6 thousand responses.
Wow. That's probably the most popular tweet they've ever had.
Yeah.
It was ratioed like that.
And my favorite is everyone is sitting there pointing out all of the Rotten Tomatoes ones from Kristen Lopez, Laura Clifford, Mara Reinstein, Lindsay Barr, and Stephanie Zachary. All certified not fresh.
Oof.
Those are on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. Anybody could have verified it. And when you go to most, it becomes such a malleable weasel word that it could mean anything. Do you know what I mean?
My favorite bit about that, too, is that if you look at the bottom, it's got an editorial sitting there with a cop-out sitting there saying, like, at the time of writing, it was the indication that all of the negative reviews were of men.
I mean, quit cultivating your fucking anger, people over at fucking Mary Sue and I mean, it works for comedy, but it's like it's not good for your outlook.
I want to know.
Ebony Williams, real quick, asked, "What am I hearing about Angry Joe?" Quiz was just going over that Angry Joe was one of the people in that guy's got wide social media reach. Was criticizing Mary Sue for the claim that they made in their article and as well on Twitter that all of the negative reviews of Captain Marvel were written by men, insinuating that all women are going to love this film and only angry men don't like it. And Angry Joe even weighed in on that, which is goddamn, holy shit, that's wild.
And let's see here. I'm fairly safe to certain that that tweet from Angry Joe got way more likes than the Mary Sue article did. But the one thing I've got to ask, if Rachel Leishman were to ever see this, right? Okay, please, Rachel Leishman, hear me. Who hurt you? What man hurt you that it makes you feel completely okay to say that all men are responsible for something that they aren't?
I think we know the answer to that, and it was Daddy.
Oh, and by the way, I just brought up the tweet again. Yes, Joe Vargas absolutely did fucking ratio them. They got 649 likes. He got 2.9 thousand.
Wow.
That's hilarious. Okay, so let's move on to reviews or pitches, because we don't review things here, we pitch them, damn it. And yeah, we should really wrap this up quick. Fuck, we've been streaming for a long time, and our very generous and patient audience is still here. We love you guys so much.
We love you all.
I am going to pitch something. I'll go first, if only to indicate how fast we should do this. I'm going to pitch something that I usually wouldn't, because it was fun. Marvel Warzones, 1872. I love Westerns. I make no bones about that. And this was a fun comic, and I had a good time with it, and I would like to see more of this. I'd like to see DC writers do this. I'd like to see Image writers do this if they can avoid social justice proselytizing for a hot minute and pull off something like this. It'd be great. In short, it's basically the characters that we know and love: Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, Steve Rogers, as you can see, all in the era of 1872 and what happens. It's great. it's them in a cowboy iteration.
Valley of Doom.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve Rogers, of course, is the town sheriff, because right.
Tony Stark is the irresponsible gambler
and drunk. He's the drunk, and he builds all of this steampunk tech in the era, because of course he's Tony Stark. And he is like he's from like the Colt family, like Samuel Colt, the guy who developed the Peacemaker and the Single Action Army and so forth. You know, that's why you see the Stark rifle up and above the bar. And it, you know, like his father Stark built weapons. It's great. It's so much fun. The big villain in town is, take a guess, who's the big villain in town?
Well, if it's Doom, then I'm guessing Doom.
How about Wilson Fisk?
Oh, Kingpin. Nice.
The Indian was Red Wolf. He's an actual character from the Western comics.
I don't even want to spoil it. It is traditional Western storyline. Nothing wrong with that. All of the tropes are there. It's these characters with their personalities, because comic characters are supposed to have personalities. Take note, writers. Yeah. And casting them back into the Western era. Holy shit, is it a lot of fun. Just what a great read as a standoff one alone. I love the hell out of it. There's corny elements in it. They have like shootouts, and it's like, I mean, Steve Rogers is the sheriff protecting the unrighteous criminal, but he needs to do it, and like, because he's heroic in that way. Oh, it's perfect. So much fun. Yeah, I highly recommend it. So that's my pitch for today. See, I do recommend current things. I'm not stuck in the past.
That's ironic, because I'm going to recommend an old book.
That's fine. We'll switch places. How about that? You can.
Yeah, fair enough. Quiz, do you want to go next, or shall I?
I can do it. In keeping with the theme and trying to be topical, my pitch is written by Howard Mackey and Mike Waringo. Art by Terry Austin, and lettering by Starking Comic Craft. Colors by Dana Mooreshead and Mike Thomas. Editor Lisa Patrick. My pitch is Rogue. 4-issue miniseries, 1995.
I didn't know she had a miniseries from the 90s. Cool.
Oh,
all right.
Everybody in the 90s had a miniseries.
Oh, yes. This is actually building off of the Gambit miniseries. There's actually references to that one. But essentially what happens in it is Rogue is going on her yearly pilgrimage to meet with Cody, the first boy she ever kissed, and subsequently put into a coma. And the Guild of Assassins come to steal Cody away to hurt Rogue, and end up taking Gambit along with. But there's one panel in particular I wanted to show up here. There's this one assassin that has these mutant powers that allow her to shapeshift, and she starts fucking with Rogue, so she takes the face of Gambit, and then is like, half transitioning into Cody, and then transitions into Miss Marvel. And then Rogue realizes the mind game, beats the ever-loving fuck out of her. So it's just nice to be able to sit there and see Rogue beating the hell out of Carol Danvers. It makes me happy.
I understand that. That makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, no, this is actually a really damn good series. It's all about Rogue, and it humanizes her really well, and gives a really good sort of bookend to the whole saga there with Cody. So yeah.
Nice.
You convinced me. I want to read it.
All right.
All right.
I'm going to keep mine quick because I know I have to pee.
All right.
I am pitching Captain America 115 and 116. And it's all about the Red Skull getting the Cosmic Cube, obviously, and trapping Cap inside. And Sharon Carter. This is how comics used to be when they were awesome, and these were aimed at younger readers. They're available digitally now, by the way, these 2 issues. So if you want to read them, you can get them on Comixology or on Amazon. And it's all about him, the Red Skull, trying to manipulate Cap and drive him crazy. It's a really fun story, and it's vintage stuff. You get some really classic art and a really dynamic 60s look to it. And you can see the price went up here. This is 15 center, whereas this one was 12.
Yeah.
I know, a huge jump in price.
How dare they?
Those monsters. Back when comics were good.
I'm going to have to take another day on my paper route.
Right? Right? I may only be able to buy most of the... So, yeah, this is just a vintage story from the 60s. It was just fun. There was no politics. Just a nice imaginative story about Cap fighting Red Skull and dealing with his own interpersonal stuff. But it was a nice, simple story. Nothing ridiculous. No social justice crap. He actually has to save a girl, even though she's very competent.
Patriot.
And it does guest star the Avengers. Like, there's Black Panther. Who would have thought? So, yeah, good times, great story. I love these issues, these older Captain Americas. They're a lot of fun, and I don't want to reveal too much about it because I want you to go out to Amazon and buy the digital copy or order the real one for like $20 or whatever.
Nice.
So that's what I got.
So just to be clear, all 3 of us pitched Marvel Comics today.
Yep.
After we just spent the past 2+ hours raking Marvel Comics over the hot coals.
Yes.
And I don't think we're hypocritical because you pitched something from the 90s. I pitched a odd one-off where Marvel was actually interesting, and Jack pitched something from the 60s.
Well, see, that's the thing, is that we don't hate Marvel. We hate what Marvel has become.
Well said.
Exactly.
Well said.
We hate what they're doing, not the characters. I would buy more Marvel comics if they would write them like they used to, but they don't.
You know, they do have a good IP or 2 to work with.
Yeah, they got a few good ones in there. They're just not doing anything with them,
right?
Or they're making them fight the wage gap in India.
Yeah. Oh my god.
God, I wish you were kidding about that. I know you're not, but it's just
we all do.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up, but I did want to say something really quick because somebody had asked me about it in Twitter DMs. No, I'm not going to leave the Moon Knight thing alone. I said last week that I was going to start reading it because I realized I actually didn't know what was going on with the character nearly as well as I thought I did. In looking into it, I found out I was rather uninformed. So I'm going to start reading it, and I did in fact do that. And I started, as all good academics do, with the historiography. And here it is, pieced together, the complete publication history of Moon Knight, which I'm still working on. That's just got started on that. So yeah, I know everything that Moon Knight has been involved in, and I'm going to See, I started reading in like 2014 comics, and I realized I had to go back before that. And then, wait a minute, I don't know what's going on here. I need to go before that. And so, okay, fuck it. I'm going to put together a historiography on this character and then just start from the beginning and read my way through. So yeah, that's going to happen, and I'm continuing on with it. Oh, and also one quick little thing. Jack already saw this, but it's fine. Seriously, how adorable is that? I love this so much. I want it on a t-shirt. That is the best Moon Knight picture I have ever seen. I came across this when I was looking for pictures for something I'm working on. In any case, that is it. That brings us to the end of our show. I did want to talk about Ty Beard a little bit, but God damn it, we got into rants about Marvel and Captain Marvel and every other goddamn thing that's going on. But Vic Mignogna, man, keep up the good fight. If you're guilty, you deserve to be strung up, but you only deserve to be strung up if there's actual evidence against you, not because a Twitter brigade decided to do a social power grab and get a rush of power to their belly and bring you down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And be sure and check out the Black Widow article with Emma Watson. It's crazy. We were going to cover it, but we're out of time.
Yeah. So, chat, thank you for always as showing up. We didn't interact as much as we usually do, but that's because I don't know, we got into a back and forth with each other and we got really caught up in the stories we were talking about. Also explains why we were so scatterbrained and random today, but whatever, different weeks, different vibes. You know how it is. Final thoughts. If you're going to go see Captain Marvel, by all means do so. But if you want to stick it to Marvel and protest, but still go see the movie, wait until after opening weekend. Nothing's going to hit them harder than that. They are dying for those opening weekend dollars, and or you can do what some people say. Not that I'm recommending this, but buy a ticket to Battle Angel Alita, and go or buy a ticket to Battle Angel Alita, and then sneak into Captain Marvel. That's not a bad idea either. Not that I'm recommending that.
Just go see Battle Angel.
Yeah. Or just if you, like I said, if you want to go see it in the theater, by all means, just wait till after opening weekend and avoid the reviews.
Or stay home and watch the X-Men animated series and see a better version of fucking Carol Danvers, and her name is Rogue.
Any final thoughts, guys?
I like pudding.
Nice.
I think I'm going to watch X-Men the animated series.
I think I might too. That was pretty good.
All right, chat. Thank you as always.